I could be your hero, but I can't get out of bed. There's too much in my head. I could be more faithful, but I fail at that habit. So I run around instead. I wanna be good to myself, love hard to breathe more, drink less. I wanna be seen at my best, sleep more, be nice a lot less. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life. I could be your best friend, but I can't pick up my phone. Let it ring cause no one's home. I'm always judging and degrading. I should stop all that, I'm sure, but I'm just too insecure. I wanna be good to myself, love hard to breathe more, drink less. I wanna be seen at my best, sleep more, be nice a lot less. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life. Start thinking, all the details start to sink in. I don't care about the right now. Spend the summer in this beach house. Cause I will try to play my part. My lies memorized. Conspiracies on TV. I know the truth and it's so simple.
Hello there, hello there, hello there. YouTubes, Twitches, all the rest of it. How are we all? I'm very well, I thank you for asking. Special one today. We've got guests. We've got two guests. Joining me from the CritFacts channel, which is a trans-friendly shitting on transphobe channel, I suppose. It's Bleep Fox and Rachel. Hello there. Yes, indeed. Yes. I suppose, firstly, introduce yourselves and your involvement in the channel to everyone. I suppose we firstly start with Rachel.
By virtue of being friends.
Apologies. Time out, everybody. I forgot to unmute the desktop audio. I'm very professional. Super awesome. They did say hello. When I said hello, they didn't blank me. The sound was off, just in case anyone.
That's okay. It was a little bit awkward, so we can have another go at it now.
Okay, we'll start again.
Do a little rewind.
Right. 3, 2, 1. Hello there, everybody. Anyway.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
So hello there to again to Rachel and Bleep Fox. Rachel, tell me all about you.
Well, I am a person, and I am I am a Dutch person. I'm from the Netherlands. I am mostly queer and transgender, and basically to sum up everything in like a really quick like elevator pitch, I logged into Twitch or to Twitter, and I got really angry with things. And mostly at the treatment of like LGBT people in particular, and that made me talk to a lot of other people with like similar interests, into like combating these types of like this transphobic rhetoric, and so I got in touch with a person called CritFacts, and they have like an entire backstory by themselves, which I can elaborate on later. But basically, CritFacts was doing like this whole spiel on their Twitter about like combating transphobia, and they eventually expanded into the realms of YouTube. And of course, to do this, they asked to have a different voiceover for every video that was written. And the reason for this is because they themselves don't want to be public about their about their identity, mostly their biological sex.
Yeah.
Because in case you're not aware, if you're really open about it, if you're really open about being a trans woman or
just
anything,
trans generally,
just trans in general, and people will have transphobes will have like a particular answer to that. You know, it's like if you're a trans woman, they'll say, "Oh, you're just a guy, and you shouldn't be talking about this." Then you know, there's an answer to. They have like a set answer to that specifically.
Yeah.
So to avoid all that crap, we basically said like, okay, let's just do CritFacts, and they can write all the scripts for us, and basically, yeah, we can just work together as a team to make like all these YouTube videos that are supposed to not only inform but also humanize us as people, which I don't think often is really that talked about a lot. I think personally, a lot of people always go into, you know, like we're always put on the spot about like defending ourselves and our existence. Yeah. And so not enough time is actually spent humanizing us. And so I think in that regard, we have sort of a job ahead of us.
Yeah. Well, yes, thank you for that. And thank you to Bleep Fox, whoever that is, for raiding into the channel. And welcome everyone, Bleep Fox.
Hi guys. My internet isn't good enough to also stream at the same time, so I'm raiding instead for convenience. I am the audio editor, and I've done some voiceover for CritFacts in the past.
Well, that was much more short. That was much shorter.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm very concise.
Way to put me on the spot there.
No, it's okay. You put yourself on the spot. Don't blame me. No, I actually don't remember how I started getting involved with CritFacts, because the original CritFacts Twitter got taken down by a bunch of transphobes reporting it. So I don't have the messages anymore. And I think I was asked to do a voiceover, and I did one, and then I just sort of started doing all the audio editing as well. And then I also did the soundtrack for a couple of videos ago as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that original CritFacts Twitter got shut down, because I hear that transphobes are very pro free speech.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they talk about it a lot. Definitely.
Yeah, don't seem to practice it a great deal, do they?
And also, don't forget anti-cancel culture. They hate.
Yes,
cancel
they
culture.
hate cancel culture.
Ooh.
Yeah, indeed, yes. Especially Ms. Rowling, of course, as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, obviously, Queen Rowling.
Queen Rowling. Yeah.
Indeed, yes. So, I suppose give us the general overall tenor of what the content of the channel is. To whoever, whichever one feels best placed.
I'll let Bleep go.
Yeah. Like what Rachel was saying, a lot of the time when trans people start getting harassed on, particularly Twitter, it's quite common to get harassed on Twitter for being trans. Transphobes will put you on the spot quite harshly by asking you extremely open questions, or asking really bad faith arguments that you couldn't possibly answer in 240 characters. And the original thought behind the videos was that if you really did want to reply to someone like that, you could send them a link to the video instead, which is why we have one on, is J.K. Rowling a transphobe? We have one on defining different types of transphobes, all that kind of stuff. And it's educational, but also quite lighthearted and doesn't take itself very seriously. And that was kind of the initial thought, was like, people keep asking really, really broad questions that we can't possibly answer. And it would be great to just be like, just watch this. Here you go. Here's the link. If you really care, watch this. Yeah,
no, it's good to have an easier way, an outlet for people, like you say, in that situation to say, here's the video. If you care, this explains the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's really
useful. And then
useful.
most of the time they say, I'm not watching that. So then you can just say, oh, well, you don't really care then. So why are we still talking?
Well, exactly, yeah. If you're not prepared to do... this watching a YouTube video isn't really research, but if you're not even prepared to begin to dip your toe into the topic, then I can't... Yeah. You clearly don't care, which I think is ultimately the crux of all TERFism.
A lot of it, yeah, because it kind of unravels itself quite quickly if you ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Like an interaction that Rachel was involved in recently that I kind of got a bit stuck in on was a guy who was just kind of deciding that a lot of trans women aren't really trans women and that he had to police them. And it kind of fell apart after we kind of unraveled that about what he was doing. Really, really weird. Not really that invested. So when you kind of break it down in front of them and you start making fun of them for being the trans police, they sort of lose the thrust a little bit because they don't actually give a shit. So it kind of falls apart quite quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's probably true. So in terms of, we're going to watch the different, we're going to watch a video that the Crit channel put out, which was voiced, I believe, by Rachel and edited by Blepfox.
By me.
Yeah. About the different types of transphobe. So we'll, I think, wait in terms of the different distinctions here and just lump them all together for the time being, and say, I was going to ask you, in terms of your engagement with transphobes and stuff, what is the most sort of common thrust of their quote unquote argumentation? What's their most common rhetoric?
I'll say first that I don't tend to have that many interactions.
Okay.
Because I avoid it. So Rachel is probably more versed in this than me, but it's very consistent. It's the same shit every day.
Yeah.
They're not very creative.
I would say, like, without a shadow of a doubt, it would be the Steneland question.
Which is?
Steneland herself got banned from Twitter a while back, thankfully, finally. But a question which still, like, repeats all throughout, like, transphobic, like, social media and Twitter. And it's something along the lines of, like like, are you okay with a male-bodied person having the right to undress in front of underage girls or something like that?
Yeah, that's
I'm
pretty much the crux
paraphrasing,
of it.
but
Yeah.
it's also phrased in the video that we're about to watch. So.
Yeah. It's also
Yeah.
quite interesting that it's always that way round. It's always a male-bodied person as opposed to, I mean, the other way round or whatever. Not that I'm trying to shit on trans men either. I'm just saying it's clear where they're coming
from. The
from.
angle from TERFs is usually in the direction of, look how disgusting trans women are.
Yeah,
is usually their angle.
And especially with like a pedophile band, very obvious pedophile band, which is
reheated homophobia.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like the queer people all want to touch kids, and that's that's just their angle.
It's the same arguments you would have found from quote unquote anti-sodomy campaigners back in say the 50s, 60s, wherever.
And it's the same vibe. They reword it to try and make it seem that's the same kind of vibe as like gender critical. If you don't know what you're looking at, you kind of look at it and you're like, okay, like gender critical, I guess. But really, it's just like, I hate trans people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The phrase gender critical always annoyed me because these are the least critical people about gender in the world.
Yes,
they're
exactly.
gender essentialists.
Yeah. So they require that everyone around them be as least critical as possible about the idea of gender or gender roles.
And the quickest way to dismantle that is to talk about how they're supposed to, because they're all about protecting the women's spaces. My first question is always in that regard, like, how are you going to protect those spaces? Like, what is like the outline for you in your perfect society? And the answer is always like, either it's nothing, so which comes down to, okay, then why even why
raise the point?
Why raise the point if you have no if you have no solution? Or they have to resort to like very rigid gender stereotypes, like you have to look like you have to look really dainty, or or really short, all those like preconceived notions of what like a woman, especially like a Western woman, should look like. And
and it sort of boils down to penis and vagina, or Pepsi and vegetable, to use the parlance of the channel, as I'm sure we'll say.
CritFacts made that same joke, by the way. Can I just say that?
No, that's that. Yeah, I was referencing. That's what they get called on on the thing. So I was I don't know. Just I found that funny on the video. Especially when you're talking about something quite technical and the word penis and vagina sort of follow on from one another quite quickly, because then it's Pepsi and vegetable Pepsi. Like, it's just very funny. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's if you haven't seen the thing. And by the way, go and subscribe to the CritFacts channel. It's linked below. It's actually very, very good. It should blow up. I hope it does.
Thank you for the faith.
Yes. So yeah, we talked a little bit there about their the reheated homophobia thing, and it's I think that's a really good point and well worth making, and why it's so common that you now find common ground between, say, TERFs and far right elements, and the overlapping there, even though they claim to have disparate intent. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm not excellent at this kind of thing because I don't spend a whole lot of time kind of engaging in it, but it even when you're not, it's so obvious.
Yeah,
because you see TERFs or people that call themselves gender critical engaging in arguments that do boil down to talking points of far right groups.
Yeah,
things like keeping things the way they are, the same flavor as that disgusting keeping Britain British thing that went around for a while, and it's the same kind of like keep women like women, keep men like men, and it's think about the family, think about the kids, and it's all the same kind of phrases and like meaningless kind of jargon.
Yeah, what I find really ironic in that regard, a lot of like the gender critical, and I say this in air quotes, obviously. But a lot of those types on social media, at least, will always say like, "Well, follow the money." But if you follow the money on their side, it always leads back to far right groups and like ADF and the Heritage Foundation and Family Alliance Council or whatever.
Yeah,
the heck
that's
it's
that's
called.
another one that comes up. I've seen more recently is TERFs and GC people start getting really conspiracy theory-ish about stuff, and then they slowly start getting anti-Semitic.
Oh yeah,
Which
because
is
of
usually what kind of follows after that, because they want to talk about how pharmaceutical companies are transing people and to make money and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
Soros,
really weird.
conspiracy.
Yeah, and that bleeds into the kind of quote-unquote white genocide type BS that you get
Yes.
from Nazis. So it fits
You get it. You
quite
get
well.
it about lesbians.
Yeah.
They say, oh, that we're running out of lesbians.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
Well,
not, by the way.
the store of lesbians is running low this winter.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's running
terrible.
low.
Yeah.
We need a stock count on lesbians.
How
Yes.
crazy is it? How crazy is it that like you have to rely on some really like fringe conspiracy nutter to protect women or whatever? Like, and I've seen these people like unironically share links to like Joe Rogan clips.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, he's now the defender of women's rights. Like, what are these people smoking? Like,
Well, clearly there's something desperately wrong at the heart of it. Because I mean, you talked earlier about what in your ideal society, how would you protect these spaces? And I don't know if you saw another. I don't know if Britain is becoming home of the weird TERFs or whatever, but there's quite a lot of
Island.
them, unfortunately.
Yeah, pretty much.
Posey Parker, who's another
Yeah.
awful
Yeah.
piece of trash, and her absolutely smooth-brained take of inviting men with guns to protect women's toilets, which
yeah.
is
Yeah.
remarkably stupid because it's actually men who are far more likely to want to do harm to women than trans people ever would.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's the same person who was like really anti BLM as well, no?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of racism. I think you referred to it in the video we're going to watch as comorbidities.
Yes.
Yeah, the idea of having the different bigotries. And I've said this a lot on my channel for years now about the bigotry begets bigotry. That if you're a sexist, you're probably going to also be open to racism and
Yeah.
homophobia and all these various other things. And I think you see
absolutely.
that with these quote-unquote gender-critical people as well.
It's always
Yeah,
been
100%.
over. And the thing that I find really funny, because on my social media pages and even on my Twitch page right now, I have just a furry cartoon character as my profile picture. And the reason I like this to have that picture there is exactly because, and this might just be just my personality at play here, exactly because it kind of makes these people tell on themselves openly, like if you have like if you're arguing with like a transphobe on Twitter, they're like there's always this high chance of them going after your picture because you're just some degenerate furry, like and as soon as they do that, I'm always thinking to myself, yes, this argument is over, because they're basically telling on themselves that they're just close-minded fools who hate somebody's profile picture and want to discredit them because they don't like it and they think it leads to, I don't know, degeneracy or whatever else
Yeah.
it is.
I mean, it's kind of known that people who actively hate furries tend to be just like clouding homophobia or like queer hatred.
It is a form of queer hatred most of the time anyway.
Well, this is the thing that it seems to be. It's in many respects in the same way that it's far more acceptable to be, say, anti-Muslim than it is to be anti-Jewish, given historical narratives and stuff, historical events. The same is true with, say, sexuality or furry isn't necessarily a sexuality, is it? But it can often be linked in that way. Between the fact that now most people accept homosexuality in a way that trans is now being, as we said, the rebaked, reheated same arguments against trans people now. That, like you say, when they're being they're anti-furry or anti-trans, anti-non-binary, they're just doing that because they can't. It's not socially acceptable to say those things about gay people now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact: even Graham Linehan himself went after me because of my profile picture on Twitter back in the old days. Yeah.
What an honor. Do you
What
have
an
that
honor,
framed somewhere?
I don't know.
I would.
Should have. Yeah.
It's such a shame he's no longer on Twitter. He added so much to the conversation.
Oh,
Yeah, there
especially-
was so much depth to his
especially
additions.
when he called trans people groomers. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that the same guy who then went on to Mumsnet and started sending out unsolicited dick pics drunk?
Oh, wait, what?
Oh,
I didn't know that one.
did that
but
slip
I'm
past you?
not
Oh, yes.
surprised.
I'll have to
Yeah.
send you the link. Yeah, this was a few months ago. He got kicked
God.
off
It was
Twitter.
a few months ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Oh no, did you?
Oh,
Oh, okay, well
God.
you missed this one. This is.
I
was a
full
huge.
disclosure, I miss everything. It
No,
goes
that's-
right over my head.
that's absolutely
I'm
fine.
working all the
It's like,
time.
this
Well,
other rock.
Yeah, I'm extremely online, and I found Glinner one of the best lol cows on the internet. He was so fun. Yeah, no, he was kicked off Twitter, and then he was kicked off basically every other social media site, as tends to happen these days. And so he found himself on Mumsnet, which is, at least in theory, for those who don't know, it's like I think it's a British, or it started up as a
Yes.
British site.
It is.
For mothers to talk about being mums or something, but basically turned into
Yeah.
weird TERF haven, basically.
Yeah.
Graham then went onto that website to be like the king of the TERFs, basically. And
He is self-appointed king of the lesbians, isn't
King
he?
of the
So he
lesbians,
could, yeah, he could.
seems
move on
odd
to
that
full TERF as well.
lesbians would have a king. But anyway, let's by the by. Yeah, he went onto that website and then got drunk one night. Because for full disclosure, his wife had left him. Because basically, when you go down this path, you ruin your life. No one wants to be around you. You're a toxic, cancerous individual. So his wife had left him. He was living on his own. He got really, really drunk one night. Started sending unsolicited dick pics to women who he'd got to know on the website, and then had to make a horrific, I presume, hungover apology the next day, and they kicked him off anyway.
Wow. Well, it's almost like he's like a rampant misogynist or something.
Almost,
Wow.
yeah,
It's
perhaps.
Who would have thought, yeah.
Very strange, but it's nice that these people, who, even though they've seen from Graham Linehan that it's the cis dude that was the problem, they're still going to go
Yeah.
after the trans people because they're the real
Yeah.
threat.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Somehow.
yeah.
we
100%.
us trying to live. That's the bigger bigger issue here.
Believe me, I don't want to do very much that's trans related. I'm really busy, but
Yeah.
I have to do so much
I
shit.
have to, can I ask both of you, why do you think this is such a problem on like the UK specifically, like TERF Island? Why is it so, why is
I
it
found that
there?
generally England has a really severe issue with casual bigotry, particularly where I remember growing up feeling this weird thing where it's like, if the person you're making fun of in a racist way isn't black, then it's pretty much fair game.
Oh,
You can
Yeah.
be casually racist to people as long as they're not black. It's fine. And I see it in like my parents' parents. You know, they'll make comments about Indian people or Chinese people. You know, as long as they're not black, it's cool. Which
Well,
I think
and-
probably extends to like, oh, as long as they're not gay, it's cool.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's
weird lines in the sand that aren't real when it comes to like casual bigotry, which is my experience anyway, anecdotally.
Yeah, I think it's mainly an English thing within Britain. Not to say there aren't horrific bigots elsewhere in the UK, but well, and Northern Ireland's its own thing. Let's not get into it. But in terms of the mainland, England's the real problem. And I think if you look, say, like the Brexit referendum thing and all of that, that was inspired in large part by bigotry. And as we said earlier,
It was mostly xenophobia, yeah.
yeah, it's basically telling Johnny Foreigner, as they refer to it, to
Yeah.
fuck off. That was it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And as we said earlier, bigotry begets bigotry, and these
Yes.
people, it's like they need the oxygen of hatred to keep that fire going, and
Yeah,
so they
and the
find
other
new
thing
groups,
is
and
that-
trans is like a new
Yeah.
avenue for them.
The sexy new thing to make fun of. And the other thing as well is the left in the UK, I think before that point, we're living in this kind of fantasy land
Yeah,
where like, we know we're right, Brexit won't happen, that would be a stupid fucking idea, so we don't really need to like persuade anyone Brexit is a bad idea. It's obviously a bad idea, and then we lost the referendum.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of, you just expect people to not be xenophobic, but you actually have to try.
Yeah.
You can't just expect that everyone has figured it out. Like a lot of
Actually-
people are quite heavily indoctrinated into it.
When you mentioned like the casual, oops, sorry, bumped my mic. When you mentioned the casual racism, especially towards like towards like Chinese and Asian people, I definitely see some of that in my country, in the Netherlands. But when it comes to feminism, I think like radical feminism is like not really a thing here at all. Like it's all third wave and beyond.
Yeah, because you're like a cool place with nice people.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Britain's, I mean, you get the
Britain's a
occasional,
shithole.
yeah, you get the occasional Geert Wilders or whatever in the Netherlands, but
Yeah.
but Geert Wilders would be prime minister if he was here. Do you know what I mean? Like we've got Boris Johnson. We're any country that would elect Boris Johnson is a country that needs to sink into the sea.
Yes.
Well,
I
I mean-
very often ask for England to sink into the sea.
I mean,
Yeah.
you say that, but we do have like Thierry Baudet.
Yeah,
That's-
I mean,
that's
I'm under no
pretty high
illusion
up.
that there's like a perfect country out there, and I'm,
No.
Yeah.
they all have their bad apples, and they do spoil the whole bunch if you don't let them. If
Well,
you don't
exactly,
stop
yeah.
them. But yeah, the kind of the thing that I see a lot in the UK is complacency, and like the thing that it's like a really obvious difference between like the UK and France is the way that they riot versus the way that we riot, which is like we don't really ever riot for anything ever. And like you talk to, I remember going to France a lot when I was a kid, and I remember talking to this guy. I can't even remember what he was. I think he was some kind of manager somewhere at like a restaurant or something, and we just started talking, and he was like, the culture is in France that when something goes wrong and it's the government's fault, you riot.
Yeah.
You block the motorways, you burn things, you work for it, you know? And in the UK, we're just like, oh God, the bloody government. And then that's it. you don't do anything else.
It's pretty pathetic, to be honest. Yeah, that's true.
I mean-
if you look at the way the yellow vest, the gilets jaunes people,
Yeah.
they kept that going for months and months and months, and they tried here, and like 12 bigots turned up in London,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like it's pretty spineless stuff, but
Yeah, mostly.
indeed. So actually, on the topic of Britain and getting back to some extent to transphobia, the Keira Bell case was a fascinating and horrific thing in its own way. Would you like to explain the basics of that case, and we'll get into some of the connections there if you follow the money as well?
I know the basics of this,
Yeah.
but I actually mostly avoided it on purpose.
Oh,
because
okay.
it stressed me the fuck out. So I was just like,
Well, if you prefer not to talk about it, that's fine.
no, I can talk about it. I
Okay.
just want to be clear that I have no idea what I'm talking about. I only know the basics
Okay.
of that. She started to transition as a child through the Tavistock Clinic, which is one of the few gender clinics we have in the UK, and now regrets that transition, as far as I know. And it identifies as a woman now, and sees it fit to stop other children from transitioning because she made a mistake, is my read on it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. And I was wary at first of criticising her, because I thought, well, she's been through a thing, and maybe she was a young person who's doing this, that, and the other. But I got a lot of
my first thought on it was there's got to be more to this.
Yeah.
Because on the surface, I was just like, this, I can't criticize this at all as it stands.
Yeah, but she gave off some real nasty gender
Yes.
crit vibes and stuff. So I
Yes.
thought, well, I'll keep an eye. And it didn't take long, as it really does, for the nonsense to rise to the surface. And she's a very capricious individual.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and she's
I did see a thread about it, and it kind of read to me like she just didn't have the support network from fellow queer people at the time, and instead turned to like the gender critical movement.
And also, and to nobody's surprise at all, her lawyer, Paul what's his face?
Oh yeah.
Is actually like a regular guy from surprise, surprise, the Heritage Foundation.
Yes, and
So-
some horrific family Christian organization in America as well.
Yeah, isn't
I
it?
believe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, who are anti-abortion, anti-women's rights, anti-homosexual.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
that's,
feminists, these supposed feminists, getting in bed with anti-choice nutcases,
Yeah.
which is
Christian fundamentalists.
yeah,
Basically.
yeah, which is I think again goes back to the idea of the TERFs and the far right getting into bed. They've
Mm.
it seems so odd because it's so obviously going to backfire on you in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
'Cause-
Venn diagram of like Nazi and TERF is close to a circle.
It also seems so odd to me. Like I always imagine, like, if you were like a bigot, wouldn't you want to be like, wouldn't you ally yourself more closely with like, I don't know, centrist dipshits before going all the way with the Nazi
Yeah.
Nazi allyship? Like, I just
Yeah,
don't get
I
it, but,
always
like,
thought that, but then if you take into account the fact that bigots and Nazis, they're very loud. They have a lot to say, and they really mean it, and
Yeah.
that could be attractive
Oh, yeah.
if you're already kind of pushed in that direction. Whereas centrists say and do nothing, and just kind of occasionally chime in with maybe let's sit somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
stuff, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, like far right people are the kind of the loudest people in the room. So if you're looking
Yeah.
for an avenue to get attention and publicity and all the rest of it, that's where you go.
Yeah.
You know, but it's immoral nonsense, of course. But that's just
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
basis. So
I
yeah,
mean, you kind of have to ignore that when you imagine it, don't you? 'Cause
Yes, indeed.
If they knew that, they wouldn't move towards it. So
Mm.
they obviously don't.
Yeah. And in terms of it backfiring on them, there are already talks from certain religious groupings of using the Keira Bell decision as a basis to try and attack the potential abortion rights of younger people as well.
Yes.
Which
What's the I've forgotten the name for it. The term in the UK that allows you to get birth control at any age, and access sexual health stuff like at any time, and I've totally forgotten what it's called.
I don't
Gillick
know.
competency. That was
Gillick
it.
competency. Yes, sorry. Yeah.
That was it. And that someone mentioned that earlier on Twitter, where they were talking about how if you argue that a child doesn't know what gender they are, you could successfully, on the back of that, probably argue that children don't know what's good for them in any way. So they also shouldn't be able to get help in
Yeah.
that form. And that you could just move forward into that. And then you can go for abortion rights, sexual health rights, stuff like that afterwards.
And literally like a week later from that, if I saw the same comments that you saw at
Yeah.
least, literally like a week or two later, the news came out that they were gonna combat the Gillick.
Yeah.
competency.
Yeah, get a competency. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into the history of it, but
Isn't it named after the scientist who
I have no
studied
idea.
it? I believe so. I think
That
Gillick is
would
a
add up.
person rather than looking
Gillick
at
neck competency.
although
Sorry.
maybe I'm right. Anyway, so
That would make sense.
but having talked about Britain, to get the Dutch perspective, how is life in general for trans people, and what's the political sort of situation there?
I would say that in general it's going into the right direction, except there's still like a bunch of like old leftovers from like the old system, and basically the Dutch have and not to like, I have no sense of nationality, so I have no like ball in this or whatever, but like the Dutch basically pioneered like transgender healthcare in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and it feels like a lot of that same sort of stuff is still present to this day. So they have to go over like all the paperwork and if you want to transition, you have to go through like through a mental diagnosis, of like, oh, are you actually like do you have like multiple personality disorder, and and I'm not like exaggerating that they actually have to go through all that just to establish if you're like mentally fit to do these things, whereas accept gender as a thing that can vary, within from person to person. So I feel like it still kind of holds on, it still kind of clings on from that. The waiting periods are still pretty long. I think it's up to like 2 to 3 years. When I started out, it was a year. That was back in 2016 when I first did like the medical referral. And I thought a year was like really long, but little did I know. And actually nowadays they have like a few smaller clinics that have like popped up in response to that, in response to those long waiting lines, because everything was basically done through the VUNC, which was like the university in Amsterdam. And it was, and was pretty overloaded, and it was pretty annoying as well, because everybody had to go. You had to go to Amsterdam, even if you lived like literally on the other edge of the country, which might not seem like a big deal, but Dutch traffic. But and so nowadays you do have these little smaller clinics called by Step Work, I believe it's called. And I think they are making life a lot easier, from what I know. I do talk to trans people here regularly, and so in that perspective, I think it's going pretty well.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just there's not really any like that. Most of the blowback that you have here is just from like a lot of the centrists, like most of the political parties pretty much agree with like pro-trans healthcare, for example. But then you'll have there's one party which is like the SGP. That's like a Christian, the one Christian fundamentalist party that we have. Of course they disagree. Yeah, and there's also the former ruling party, I should say. They are no longer in control as of currently. They stepped down. That's the latest news. And that's the VVD. It's like the Dutch Freedom Party, or however you translate that. And they are very fence sitters, very much like fence sitters. And whenever they're asked about it, they'll always approach it on the basis of, well, we'll have to see what the medical specialists think about it.
Yeah.
That sort of bullshit, which rarely works for me.
Yes. Well, thanks for that. I'm glad it's better there. Definitely.
Yeah. That's great.
I think so. Yeah. But then again, the like I said, the waiting times are really long. That's one thing that I do want to stress.
Well, they are here too. I've heard horror stories of stuff, because, like as we said, the Tavistock is one of the few places in the whole country that does it. So it's awful.
Oh yeah.
And in terms of Gillick, someone corrects me here. Gillick was the name of the woman who was the centre of the case.
Fantastic.
Who was, and then the judgment from that became known as the Gillick competence, because she was the test case. Well, when I say test case, that's a legal term, because we deal with precedents here in Britain. So when I say, I don't say they were testing on her; they were testing the legality of the thing. Anyway, so yes. Shall we take a look at one of the videos?
Yes, let's
from the video, because I've really enjoyed the content. Because I'll be honest, before Rachel reached out to me, I hadn't heard of the channel. Because you're relatively new to the scene. That's that happens.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'm not asking nicely. I'm demanding that everyone watching this go and subscribe immediately. That's how that works. Because I'm king of the internet, as we know.
Yes.
Yes, so I watched a lot of the content. It's really, really good. You deserve a lot more subscribers than you currently have. That's for damn sure.
Thanks.
So we're going to take a look at Know Your Transphobes, which is a video that is voiced by Rachel and was edited by Bleepfox, which I think is very good.
Also co-written, I think, no? By you, Bleep?
By me? No, I had nothing to do with the writing.
Oh, sorry.
I just did the edit and the processing. That was all I did.
And the writing was written by
Crit.
mysterious
We're all Crit. There is no one Crit.
Well,
We're all CritFacts.
It's interesting that you started off by saying that you're a human, a person. So is Crit maybe a robot alien?
I did not say that, but Rachel did.
Rachel did. Sorry, I knew
Rachel
someone did.
said that she was a human. I will not confirm or deny that I am a human.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a mysterious fox deity that solely exists to combat transphobia online. Which, to be fair, that actually makes a lot of sense because I don't know how CritFacts does it, but they seem to be like on Twitter like 24/7, and I always ask them like, how do you do it? Like, is that even good for your mental health? Like, Jesus.
Well, I think it's appropriate that they're a fox then, because foxes usually are very happy getting into the garbage bags, and transphobes are nothing if not garbage. So let's take a look.
Transphobe hunter, grab a flashlight.
Can you hear that, both of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, awesome. So we'll play this, and we'll sort of stop as we go along and have a little chat about things.
Yeah.
If either of you,
like.
well, that's what I say. If either of you have a particularly pertinent point, by all means, scream at the top of your lungs, and I will pause.
Okay. Yeah.
Your journal and the camera. Content advisory. Transphobia, obviously. Pretty tame otherwise. Rated PG-13 for swearing. Circa September of the year 2020, Kinetic Studios released a game titled Phasmophobia. The premise of the game is that you are a scout for professional ghost hunters and exorcists. You go to a location that has a ghost, and your job is to coax the ghost into revealing its power level and its true nature. And in a lot of ways, online discourse can feel very similar when there's rampant transphobia on the loose. In Phasmophobia, each kind of ghost has a signature set of signs that they will give off. Some and only some of the ghosts will write in the coloring books. Some and only some will cause rooms they inhabit to dip below freezing temperatures, and so on. If you can definitively detect 3 different signs between all possibilities, you'll have enough information to identify exactly which ghost you're dealing with, because it will be the only kind to exhibit those 3 specific signs together. And dealing with transphobes is similar. There are some key differences, which I'll talk about, but similar enough that I think this theme is fitting and fun. I mean, it was either that or a Donkey Kong Country endgame roll call.
That's nice.
So, stop.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I'm old enough to get that.
Yeah, no, that's
I'm
nice.
not old enough to get that.
But it's good that you use a video game reference, because there are loads of geeks on the internet. They'll love it. They'll lap that up.
They lap that shit up. They love it.
Taking paint cans and let's get.
Sorry?
It's especially funny because they basically got the idea from me, because I had like a period where I streamed Phasmophobia almost exclusively. It was like almost the only game I was pretty much like good at. So then they kind of got the idea of like, what if we base the theme of an episode just around Phasmophobia, just a game about hunting ghosts. And I was like, I was like, oh, good luck. I wasn't really sure like how they were gonna do that, but then I read the script and I was like, yeah, this works.
Yeah, the scripts are always like that. Whenever we discuss ideas, I'm always like, really? And then the script comes out and I'm like, oh, this is good.
Yeah. Get started. The average bystander, normius bystanderus. Generally speaking, people are okay, I guess. They invented cheese toast, so
That's not true. People are bad.
yeah. That's not me speaking. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We should point out. Yeah.
Opinions displayed and not Rachel's.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Each video is voiced by a different person.
Yeah.
So it's Okay. So
which is sometimes it's going to be a guest or
yeah.
And I've just realised it's going to be really difficult to try and display to think, is it Rachel now talking that wants me to stop the
yeah.
video, or is this the
Yeah,
video?
yeah.
So,
Well, it was either this one or one that I voiced.
Yeah.
So.
I'll do it in like a really high screechy voice or whatever.
yeah.
But they can't all be bad. Most people just want what's best for themselves and everyone around them. The normie isn't actually a transphobe. Kind of. Normie here represents the average person who means well but isn't up to speed on trans issues, usually for two reasons. One, there's so little visibility for trans issues and so little representation that someone involved would have to go out of their way to be exposed to the subjects. And two, they generally aren't affected by these issues, so there's no real motivation for them to do their homework on them. And there's a larger question of duty to be informed. There are so many issues that need attention in our lives. There's racism, homophobia, sexism, world hunger, capitalism, a global shortage of Mandalorian episodes. How could you do this to me, LucasArts? Lucasfilms? You know what? I don't actually care. So it's pretty reasonable for someone to not be fully informed on all of them at once. We need fighting on all fronts. But the good news is that people can always learn more, always become better allies to more people. And eliminating transphobia doesn't just help trans people. Everyone benefits from every form of bigotry eliminated. Maybe this describes you, in which case, thank you for taking the time to learn more, and I hope this video is both fun and helps you help more people around you. I think this is a really good point, by the way.
This is Rachel now. This isn't the video anymore.
Yes, sorry.
As you can see, the video is not playing. Just so we're clear.
Yeah.
But I think this raises a really good point. I thought because like if you engage with people online, one of the things that you'll always see is and the thing that always keeps coming back is just this thought of like, well, there's more important issues in the world, and it's like, but you know, but all the minor issues, quote minor issues, they all add up, you know. It's like it's like how we what we said previously about like how bigotry grows to different types of bigotry, you know. So addressing one type of bigotry always leads to another form, you know. Like if you're accepting, that's also why if you're accepting of trans people, you're less likely to be like a racist, you know, or otherwise like a bigot.
Well, one of the things that since this video has come out that's happened to me is I now know 2 cis women that have been kicked out of bathrooms because they didn't look cis enough.
Oh wow.
And I've never been kicked out of a bathroom, namely because I don't use public bathrooms ever, because I don't pass as anything currently. Like I said, I will not clarify that I'm a human.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like you imagine that, you know, it's kind of like feminism in a way that people that don't really understand it think it's about women. It's not. It's about everyone.
Exactly.
And like eliminating transphobia is kind of similar in the sense that when you break down the ways that people harass and bully trans people, you can also break down the expectations for everyone else to act or look in a particular way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And often when people talk about the kind of there are bigger issues, well, other than the biggest issue in any society, which is often, I don't know, poverty or something, like there's other than that one particular thing, everything else is going to be lesser. So you can use that kind of argument to obfuscate and just pretend like those other issues don't matter. Yeah. So you can. That's
also why class reductionism is absolute nonsense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because you can use it to dismiss any particular thing that you don't want to have to deal with. But unfortunately, life is about having to deal with things that are unpleasant and difficult. Yeah.
Multiple at once sometimes.
Yeah, it's actually like it's really important to address the things that are happening now, the things that might happen, or like working towards this one utopian society or whatever. Like it's important to address the things that are occurring now first, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So let's get back to Rachel in the past.
Don't forget to help the channel by haunting that like and subscribe button. Signs, microaggressions. Microaggressions are just little things people do out of ignorance, generally without malice. They are little, hence micro, but they add up and they can be really insulting and frustrating. Consider the microaggression that was common 10 years ago. When a gay couple would introduce themselves to straight people, they'd often get asked, which of you is the man and which of you is the woman? It comes from the assumption
One of my
that
uni
every
housemates
relationship
asked that to someone once.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
really?
First year of uni. One of my other housemates is gay, and he was like gushing about a boy that he'd met, and it was super exciting, and we were all being silly. And she was like, "So which one of you is the man and which one of you is the woman then?"
Oh,
And we were all like,
no.
Oh
no.
like, is this a bit?
Yeah, like that's...
Are
You hit that moment where you're like, is this a bit? This is a bit, right? You're doing a
Are
bit.
you having a laugh?
And then she just looks at us like, well,
She wanted
which
the
one?
proper answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
You should have said, like, are you having a giggle, mate?
Yeah, absolutely,
Sorry.
yeah. Well, but the thing you're about to bring up as well about asking about genitals, who would do that?
you'd be surprised.
I know, absolutely, yeah, but it's sort of disgusting because
Yeah.
I've never once been asked as a cis man, "Oh, how's your cock today?"
No.
Like it doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
Like, my general
Well, you
rule...
don't have the kind of friends that I have, I guess.
Well, I suppose.
Like, my general rule is always, like, if you wouldn't ask just any cis person on the street, then it's not okay to ask a trans person that either.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
really like it because it enables me to make someone really uncomfortable about it.
Oh wow.
Which
Yeah.
which I do quite often. Whenever anyone asks me about my genitals, and I've made this joke a couple of times, is that I have like Schrodinger's genitals. Well, it depends on what will upset the person the most.
Yeah.
Is what I tell them.
Yeah, I mean, it can bleed over into like some really stupid harassment.
Yeah, yeah,
because
obviously.
I've had that before. Actually, I've had that
Yeah.
before. When people would literally just harass me just by asking me that question. Just like,
Yeah.
what's in your pants? Like, no, I need to know what's in your pants. It's like, what does it matter? Like,
Yeah.
and yeah. I've even had people harass me, like bar workers,
Yeah.
just bar staff just harassing me with that. Yeah, it's really toxic, and for some reason it's just expected for trans people to just go along with that, just be like,
Yeah.
as if it's totally okay. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad. Yeah. Again, yeah, so the golden rule, if you wouldn't ask it to a cis person, don't ask it to a trans person either, because you'll notice the word person is in both of those descriptors.
Well, I mean, you don't need to know about a cis person's dick either.
No, that's the
or
point,
their
yeah.
vagina, or you don't need to know about that in any situation, really. There's no situation someone who is not your lover or a medical professional would need to know.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a medical professional and you need to know, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, if my GP's like, what you got going on down there, I'm going to be straight with her. Like, it's not a big deal, but she's my GP.
Yeah.
That's the point.
yeah, I think you can trust her to be pretty confidential
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah,
sort of
it's
thing.
kind of her job.
Yeah.
True, but I mean, maybe doctors are different, but you definitely would. You'd tell everyone you knew, wouldn't you? This person had a whole bottle up their arse today. You wouldn't believe it. I had to send them to the hospital.
Well, as long as you don't say who it was. It's
yeah,
fine,
yeah,
right?
exactly. I wouldn't be giving out home details or anything. No.
No.
Anyway.
No, but I definitely would. I definitely would as well.
Yeah, of course. Anyway.
Have a man and a woman, and projecting that norm onto people onto whom that assumption profoundly does not fit. And even on a good day, it's really intrusive because it's loaded with assumptions about what is the man's role and the woman's role in a relationship. Come on, you know what they're really asking, and we all know that's nobody's business. Anyway, here are some of the microaggressions that well-meaning people do to trans people and why you shouldn't say or do these things. Do you know Nikki tutorials? Trans people don't all know each other. There's no hive mind. You mean like Caitlyn Jenner? Trans people generally don't care to be compared to the other one trans person you've heard of. Have you had the surgery? That's none of your business. transition is an incredibly personal decision, and trans or not, someone else's genitals are none of your business unless you're dating them and the relationship has reached that level of intimacy. Like, it's natural to be curious about a kind of person you've never been exposed to, but please don't put trans people on the spot to answer overly personal questions. Just chill, put your curiosity aside, and maybe when there's an appropriate time, you'll get to talk to your new trans friend and they'll share their experience with you. If they have the energy. Okay, but Blair White gave me permission to say that. Shut the fuck up!
Yeah, Blair White's
The
fucking awful.
the reverb on that was a joke that I sent to CritFacts as an MP3 file because I was like, ha ha ha, wouldn't this be funny? And they were like, ha ha ha, yeah, it's funny. And then they put it in a video. And I was like, you should ask me so I could give you a WAV. Don't fuck with me like this. I spent like 2 hours editing this to make it nice, and then you chuck an MP3 in it.
Actually,
So funny.
the voiceover blueprint that was handed to me by CritFacts had that same thing, like the same level of shouting. So
Yes.
it's difficult to
Yeah.
match.
Yeah. And I sent the original version with no reverb on it, and then whenever I send off stuff, I dick about with it afterwards, just to entertain myself. And that was one of the things I did to that one, was just chuck a ton of reverb on it, and it really made me laugh. So I bounced out this tiny little section as an MP3. I was like, ha ha ha, isn't this cute? And now it's there.
Forever. It's on the internet forever now.
It's on the internet forever, and it's a fucking MP3.
Your sins are forever fucked.
It wasn't my sin.
Okay.
But anyway, also, fuck Blair White.
Oh yeah, actually,
also fuck Blair White.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking. Wasn't her viewer base like dwindling recently?
Well, because didn't she sort of come out after Trump had done his millionth transphobic thing? She came out and said, "Oh, maybe he shouldn't do that. Maybe my support for him wasn't great." And all of her right-wing fans went, "Well, if you're not going to validate my bigotry, I'm going elsewhere."
Oh yeah.
You nestled up to me, and now you're telling me I smell.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this?
Yeah, it's like the it's like the cheetahs eating your face.
Exactly. Faceless man says, "Well, I thought they wouldn't eat my face."
Yeah, exactly. How to respond. These are the people where persuasion and patience will have the greatest returns in terms of effort into directly bringing people into allyship. These are people who want to do good, want to help other people, and so if you can show them that being an ally is a way to do good and help people, then it's pretty reasonable to anticipate them starting to use that information to start helping people. If you're in this group and you want to learn so you can help more people, great! YouTube is an amazing resource for learning. It's where a lot of trans people have already put energy into explaining things, so you don't have to ask your trans friends to educate you themselves. That's hard work, actually. I'm linking in the doobly-doo some other channels to consider. You shouldn't limit your education to any one voice. If you're already an ally or trans yourself, know that these are people who can really easily be helped to become allies. But remember that you're never obligated to expend your own energy to educate someone else. It pays forward and it's absolutely worthwhile and noble, but if you're ever on the spot and don't have the time or energy for it, just remember to take care of yourself first. And if you're in this group and you trip up and get reprimanded...
Go on.
I think this raises a really good point about self-care, because so many trans and queer people, for that matter, are really like pushed into defending themselves constantly, and I think this is really reflected in on like social media. If you look at like how many trans people, and I follow quite a lot, I would say. How many trans people just say that they just can't deal with it anymore, that they have to take a break, you know, or they just remove their account entirely. I've seen quite a few of that, and I think a lot of that has to do with just, and you know, usually when I'm involved in these like long, you know, Twitter threads, I can always tell like when somebody is like really expending themselves, just trying to push out, trying to defend just trans rights in general, and just and LGBT rights to people who just don't give a shit, you know.
Yeah.
And this kind of thing, it's just really tiring in general. And I don't know. I think more people should be made aware of this kind of thing, where trans people are just made aware of the fact that they should not expend their energy this much, you know, that they don't have to put themselves on the spot constantly. They don't have to put out their energy like constantly, you know. They don't, like, it's not their job to be like this lawyer of trans feminism or whatever, you know, like like it's not your day job, you know. You're just a person, and you know, and as a person you have your own life to contend with too, and like you don't have to defend your own existence with that as well, you know, like
Yeah, and it's like that stuff is super tiring, especially on Twitter. But even if you're not actively like fighting transphobia by like getting into long Twitter threads with people, it's still super tiring, because J.K. Rowling trends like every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you see like a bunch of people talking about how you're going to rape kids if you're let into a bathroom. And it's bloody tiring.
Yeah.
It gets really tiring, because you're just like, oh my God, again? We're doing this again. It's been like 2 weeks. Can I just have a break for like a minute?
Yeah, or
because it's like between those times, someone on Twitter is saying some other shit to me.
Or there's like a new, I don't know, Spectator article or Daily Mail article.
Yeah.
Also, shout outs to CritFacts' really long run-on sentences.
Yeah, shout out to those, because I didn't even know where to cut them.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very, very interesting to voice those, because oh man.
It was interesting to figure out where it was supposed to stop.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why it's clearly an alien. Clearly, it's all one
breathe,
big long
so
thought.
They're like, why use a full stop? You just keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You humans need to breathe, whereas the alien doesn't.
Yeah, the alien doesn't. I think they used speech to text to write a lot of the scripts, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because when I've used them to like edit with to help me, they've been really unhelpful, because they're just long strings of thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But obviously it's fine, because you just figure it out eventually. Sometimes I have to edit the scripts to like put grammar in them and stuff to help me. Yeah. I
have to like really consciously just read it out loud first, you know, just to find the rhythm of all the words. And even then, it still can be really painful, because like if I don't find like the correct rhythm in a sentence, then it will sound like really monotone, you know. And that's the last thing you want for like a video of this. It needs to be like a little bit vibrant and entertaining, you know.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to you, Rachel, considering this is not your first language.
Yeah, thanks. I actually know almost 4, I would say.
Oh wow, that's like 3 more than.
This is time for Rachel to flex. This is Rachel.
Yes.
It's flex o'clock for Rachel.
No, I know Dutch, English, German, and really basic Mandarin Chinese.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I was going to say you speak 4 languages, which is 3 more than the entirety of Britain, I think.
Oh, really?
That is true. Yeah.
We don't really do foreign languages.
We don't do that sort of thing, darling. Everyone speaks English. It's fine.
Exactly.
To be fair to the UK, I mean, you're an island region. You know, you're kind of.
Well, no, that's why we took over the entire world and forced them all to speak English, so we didn't have to learn.
Some of them even have the same plugs as us. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. Learn and move on. And if you accidentally did a microaggression and a trans person snapped at you, it's not because you're an enemy to trans people, but because trans people already deal with so much, and it adds up and gets really damn tiring. With any struggle for dignity and respect, you shouldn't choose who you take care of based on who's nice to you, but kindness is a really good way to inspire people to care about those around them. Reactionaries and chuds. Chud is a slang term describing a spectrum of right-leaning beliefs, particularly social beliefs that are, well, compared to the well-meaning bystander, much more likely to be rooted in bigotry and more likely to be actively hostile. And here we see the people who are progressively more and more along a pipeline of justifying ideology and cognitive
Hey, that's my
traps
graphic.
with the more extreme.
Not the cool cat. I made this. I made this graphic, and CritFacts was like, okay, now we need some arrow to go along it, and this came up with the stupid cool cat face. So yeah, I actually made that. I also came up with the reactionaries to go along with like the. I think I did a pretty good job. What do y'all think?
Yeah, no, that's
I
nice.
think it's great. I actually only know who 2 of these people are.
Oh,
Okay,
go
but
ahead.
which ones do you know?
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Oh, I know one of them is a really good friend of Kevin.
Yeah, the cat. me and the cat get on very well. No, that's so the first one is a guy called TJ Kirk. He's the amazing atheist. He's a prick.
Yeah.
Then you got Destiny, who's big on
Well,
Twitch.
if you're starting with he's a prick, you're going to run out of expletives.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It's a good scale because basically, if you imagine it as every normal person is off to the left, off the screen, and then you get this far. He's a knob. You then get this dude who's Destiny, who's big on Twitch. He's a streamer who, like a lot of libertarians, has this very odd thing of arguing in favour of like removing age of consent laws and stuff. He's very peculiar, and was defended Kyle Rittenhouse and stuff. He's very odd. And then Sargon of Akkad, who I believe is the person that Rachel was referring to as my friend. I've known him for a long time. Me and Carl, there's a love-hate relationship, as in he loves me and I'm not so keen on him. He's trash, right-wing guy. He actually ran for office and got 3%. Very funny.
Yeah. He was like into UKIP.
He was, yes. Technically, he could have been making laws on our behalf. Bleepbox. Yeah. But he lost, so that's good.
I do know who he is. I'm very well acquainted with who he is.
Yeah, and then obviously
Somebody
Shabibo
did throw
and
like eggs at him. So
they did throw eggs. They threw fish at him, and he got milkshaked several times.
yeah, milkshakes. Yeah, awesome.
Indeed. So his dry cleaning bills must have been off the charts. Anyway,
I don't think he knows what that is. I'm not going to lie.
No, well, okay. His wife had to do a lot of washing, presumably.
Yeah. Presumably. He wouldn't know how to do it.
No, I assume not. No,
probably not.
Anyway,
Agreement being fascism. It's like a really awful Pokemon evolution. The start of the spectrum is the stage where a large parcel of people who vote Republican are at.
Is that the
stage
Crit
where
Cat?
they think bigotry is bad.
I think it is one
but
of
they also
one
don't
of the
believe
Crit
that
Cats.
they're.
pardon?
It's a Crit Cat.
Yes.
It's one of the Crit Cats.
I was just speculating whose cat that is. But,
I think it is a Crit Cat. I think.
I don't have any cats, so.
You don't
we're
have any
piecing it together
cats?
just as much as you are.
What kind of trans person are you? You don't have a cat? That's outrageous.
I do feel kind of left out, like honestly.
I have 2 cats.
This sounds weird, but and I'm gonna get all the hate probably, but I'm more of a dog person. So
See, on this channel,
That's not the most inflammatory thing you could say.
Okay.
on this channel, we reject the paradigm. We are both pro cat and pro dog on this channel.
Pro cat, pro dog.
Exactly.
That-
Together.
Yeah, I agree with that.
When cat and dog finally unite, it's over for humanity.
No,
You
yes,
should know
yes.
this.
It is. They got the brains and the brawn.
Exactly.
Yes. Ever being bigots, and I think the people who point out bigoted things they do or say are being politically correct, and that anyone who challenges their bigotry is being a woke scold. These are people who can still be reached, at this stage at least, but almost never directly. Usually, they need something to jar them and make them realize that their indifference to the plight of others is kind of shitty. Someone they care about has to be affected in a way they can't look away from. But things can get worse if left unchecked. Ironic
fucks.
and edgy forms of bigotry can turn into desensitization to genuine bigotry. Signs: shut comorbidities. Casual racism. Ironic anti-Semitism. Accuses anyone they don't like of postmodernism, but can't actually define postmodernism with any respected source or demonstrate how it applies. Uses woke scold, and or SJW as pejoratives. Accuses people of virtue signaling, claims that political correctness is ruining society, claims to have taken the red pill, shares PragerU videos, advanced Chuddery signs. The Chud may be beyond helping if they exhibit some or all of these signs, idolize Trump, call people they disagree with NPCs, on 4chan, quote, don't reveal your power level, QAnon level of conspiracy theorist garbage, adamantly against anti-racism, flat earth, climate change denialism, ironic Nazi admiration, tactics. I've had people on Twitter, like GC's accounts, like go into like serious like QAnon shit, and then when I asked them about it, like, are you like QAnon? They would be like, no, I'm not QAnon. No, I'm a leftist, and I'm like, well, you're saying all the things that QAnon says, you know.
You can be. I mean, I know a completely different point. You can basically be a kind of leftist QAnon person, kind of. You can be more in the kind of spiritual end of it, if that makes sense, like a new age type person.
I suppose so, but I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, it's often if you believe in this, the kind of the SJWs are running the world type thing, then you slot very nicely into that kind of. You only have to slightly change the description of the person you think is the evil person running the world, and you can be basically anything. You can be deep state, the Jews are running the world, whatever. It can be anything.
Yeah, that's basically what a lot of the like transphobic rhetoric comes down to. A lot of anti-Semitic, like the Soros conspiracy, for example, is like a really big one. Macklin Burns parroted that conspiracy on several occasions, and you know that's the same person who's like being idolized by J.K. Rowling. I mean, yeah.
Was that the British woman who died?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had like a malignant tumor.
Yeah, not to. I mean, I was going to say not to speak ill of the dead, but considering my Rush Limbaugh quotes yesterday, why start something new? Yeah, she was foul. She was a horrible person.
Yeah, and like J.K. Rowling was actually like commenting about how she was like really honored to have met her on her deathbed or something.
No.
And it's like, yeah, you know, like that shit runs deep. You know?
That's
it's
great.
like you know, if you like follow these kinds of people, you know, and you idolize them. If you idolize like those types of people, like what does it say about you? You know, it's like people always say, like, well, that's guilt by association. But I mean, is it really? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, the JK
that seems like a fairly valid comment at that point.
Yeah, guilt by association works if you're the one making the association, but if they themselves have made the association.
Oh yeah, good point.
You know, I mean, I didn't make her go and visit anyone on their deathbed. That's J.K. Rowling did that herself.
And that's quite the statement, to visit someone on their deathbed.
Yes, indeed. But on the J.K. Rowling thing, it's such a shame because she seemed like a nice enough person back in the day. And then I heard some rumblings of it, and I thought, I don't know, I haven't seen anything transphobic.
Did you see the comment about like? There was like an excerpt of an interview that she did, and it basically she basically highlighted how she high heels, like really feminine stuff. I forgot like the exact quote, but something with like high heels, and this was kind of doing the rounds on trans Twitter because we all thought it was just hilariously ironic how these people who believe in this weird pseudoscience idea that all trans women are like fetishizing womanhood or whatever. And they all follow J.K. Rowling, who, you know, by all accounts would also be associated with that same kind of fetishizing womanhood. You know.
Well, they do. Ultimately, that's the great description. These gender critical people do essentially fetishize a very narrow band of what womanhood is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like if you wear a skirt as like they always say it's not about clothing, but like if a trans woman dresses femininely, does makeup or whatever, they always comment about it like, oh well, you're appropriating womanhood or whatever. But
Well,
they would never be critical of that same gender expression in cis women. They would always be like, oh well, you queen. And
Well, exactly. Yeah, they'll say it's not about clothing or anything, but then they'll start talking about men in dresses, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just why not just be honest and come out and say you think trans people are icky? Like that's basically what it amounts
that's really
to.
all it comes down to.
And that also brings up another good point, is that when they phrase it like that, when they phrase it as like an issue that's just about clothes, because that's usually how they phrase it, like about clothes and like makeup. That's usually like the two go-to things for them. But as soon as they do that, they undermine a big chunk of what LGBT liberation has been about, like the Stonewall riots, for example, the trans women and gay people who were involved in those riots, they were viciously beaten by cops on the regular because they dressed in a way that was just not appropriate, deemed appropriate by those cops.
Yeah.
So to just tell trans people that it's just clothes, that really undermines what LGBT people have been fighting for, and I think it underscores a clear ignorance of just the LGBT history in general.
And
it's a kind of knowingly short-sighted mostly.
Yeah.
Is that they only see the thing that they're talking about right this second, and they don't think about it in any deeper way. It's always like, ew, you can't wear a dress, or like, you should be wearing a dress if you're a woman.
Yeah.
But like, they only see the thing that they're looking at in that moment, and there's no other thought about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it also undermines a lot of women's liberation as well.
Yes, absolutely.
That you're essentially, when you boil it down to that, you're essentially saying women should just be like dolls, just to be dressed up and put makeup on. Like, you're not an actual human being with anything deeper than that. It's just all surface level, which is pretty disgustingly and ironically misogynist.
Yeah. This is where patience really isn't a virtue on social media. The process from as long as they don't act gay in public to go ahead and be gay in public, I no longer feel threatened by the existence of gay people, is not a journey that one can be shepherded along by strangers. Depending on how far along the pipeline they are, you might feel tempted to just try to talk them out of it, but know that a stranger alone is not going to be a persuading force in getting them to go home and think about their lives.
You want to go home and rethink your life?
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Hey, he's a ghost now, so it's on topic. When you encounter the chud online, you have two options. One is to try and bait them into considering other avenues and sources of information than the ones they've been stuck in. Respond with video links to leftists, especially edgy leftists. When someone is along the pipeline to the right, edgy leftists seem to have the greatest success in pulling them out of that spiral, and from there, they usually start to integrate into communities where they learn that giving a shit about your fellow human is actually pretty cool. All the youths are doing it these days, and it's making the world a better place. Note on edgy leftists, shit's complicated. That's probably a whole nother video on the Overton window and how people's politics evolve in response to who and what they're exposed to. But beware, as tempted as you will be to try to reason them down from their chuddery, they can't ultimately be reasoned out of a position if they didn't come from a place of reason in the first place. If you try to debate them, as in try to show them new information in the hopes that they'll reconsider their wrong assumptions, they'll just be wrong and loud at you for as long as you let them. And once you detect that, you have to be willing to abandon hope of converting them and instead focus on doing the following. Humiliate their bad positions. Make it so that anyone watching sees them for the absolute clown that they are. Rebuke them. Tell them their bigotry is not welcome here and tell them to fuck off and that you won't let them waste any of your time. Block, ignore, walk away. Notice the first two of these three responses. You're not doing it for them, you're doing it for those watching the exchange. On social media, disagreement is as much a spectator sport as the exchange of ideas between interlocutors. If you can humiliate someone for bad takes, you potentially revealed Chud heroes as fools, and their followers will reconsider their team accordingly. And if you hold a line and shout a Chud out of a conversation, you send a message to the people that they would otherwise be trying to harm.
That's true. I love this, the H-Bummer guy thing. It's so good.
This is making me realize this video is much newer than I thought it was. I kind of filed it as like an old video in my head because we've made a bunch more since this one.
I know it's 19th, so literally less than a month ago.
Wow, this was like 9 months ago in my mind.
Yeah. Really? Wow.
I have time blindness. I have no idea how long ago anything was.
I do think it's a good point. I think it's a good point about how you should probably never be. You should probably never be on the defending end of any sort of Twitter debate or whatever. Like, as long as you let these transphobes debate your position, then they always come out looking, at least in their mind, as victorious.
Yeah.
The thing that I always try to do is I usually just ask them questions. Like how I previously said, how they're gonna regulate same-sex spaces. Like in their mind, that's a really important goal. Segregated spaces. Okay, you can bring up how are you gonna do that? Are you gonna bring out a DNA scanning machine at every door? That's and I think that's a really good way to highlight the ridiculousness of their assertions. And I think more people should do that, because a lot of people try to who go into these accusations and Twitter debates. They always they always seem to go at the answering end of everything, and when you do that, a lot of the transphobes will just hurl questions at you, and they'll go off on the Stenderland question and everything.
Yeah,
that won't be, and a lot of those kind of questions you can't answer in a single tweet. Then you'll get back into that issue.
Yeah, I had an experience kind of early on with in my journey of belittling transphobes on Twitter, where I didn't really know what I was doing and I had no experience of it, and I was on the back foot for the whole thing, and it just turned into them ganging up on me about anything at all.
Yeah.
And it turned into them talking about how women can't rape men, stuff like that. Just totally unrelated, weird shit that they were just kind of randomly generating between them. It was weird as hell. It was so strange.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've on occasion, when I want to torture myself, you go into the comment section of some of these videos, and the weird, it doesn't take more than a dozen comments in a thread before they start going off on some weird shit. Like you say,
totally unrelated, almost delusional, weirdness.
Really wacky shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
lots of tensions, and I think a lot of those tensions are just created to just put you on the spot.
Yeah,
you're not really looking to have an equal conversation, and you shouldn't go into those types of the conversations to have a civil debate, because they're not going in there for a civil debate. They want to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
they want to if you're having trouble with answering, if you putting your answer in five full tweets, they're not going to read that shit. They're not going to be bothered with that. They're just too simple-minded for that anyway. They're just looking for a way to put you on the spot and to be haha, well, you didn't reply with a single sentence quip, so therefore, I'm the victor.
Yeah,
that's why I mock them. That's what I do. That's my entire thing.
Yeah,
because no one.
They really don't know how to respond to it either.
Well, exactly, yeah, and I was always taught people don't like being laughed at.
Yes.
So if you've earned derision, and these people have, just mock them, because again, whether it'll change their mind, probably not. But the people around you see, oh, that dude's the funny one, and so they're more likely to just generally go down that path.
Yeah, with all abusive people, it's not a good idea to take them very seriously. It's much more effective for both of you if you make fun of them and you turn them into a stupid joke, because it completely disarms them. And it becomes really obvious who the dickhead is, because you just completely take the wind out of their sails, and they'll either give up or they'll try and talk about something else, which just makes them look more ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a good summation of it. Are we done? Can we move on?
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, I only wanted to just stop and say I think the H bomber guy thing is really good, because it does the mockery but also makes the point.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's like a great example of that, because you don't really even need to go into it.
Yeah.
And
it's immediately obvious.
And it's just a funny bit too, like it's something you can just throw at anybody, and
exactly. That's the thing. Every time Ben Shapiro says anything now, you just throw the gif of Harris just hacking through the wall.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be relevant to any housing issue. Just anything he says, just throw that in.
Yeah, exactly. A message
I love the
Oh, go on, sorry.
Oh god, did you see that the parody video of Ben Shapiro where they revoice it, and he starts he's like, hypothetically, there was a dog. It's like, Bingo was his name-o. And then he just
No, I need to watch it now.
I love that. It's so funny. It's so funny because it's like, because it's as unrelated as the things that he brings up when he opens with bats.
I unironically just absolutely hate his voice. Like I usually don't go into like ad homs like that, but like I can't stand this guy's voice. Like, oh.
Yeah, it is.
There is something discomforting about him.
Yeah, it's
but
like
just his mannerisms generally.
Voice.
Yeah. Also, Ben, just slow down. Just slow
Chill
it down
out.
slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, smoke a bowl.
Chill out.
Back.
Could you imagine if he smoked a bowl?
That would actually, yeah. Ben Shapiro, he might be quite chill. Maybe that's just what he needs. Just smoke a fatty and just sit back and think. Actually, you know what? I don't think the poor do deserve to starve to death. You're right. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I had to pull out the stereotypes of my country, but I'll smoke a bowl with him, okay?
Yeah. That's exactly. I'll
Hey,
take
to be fair, the UK probably smokes as much, if not more, weed.
Probably, yeah. It's not even that much over here.
True, but I've always thought the Dutch, they managed to get rid of their far-right people to South Africa. So I think there must be something down the line that means they're less right-wing because of that.
Well, I mean, we did... No, actually, that's not true. I was going to say something bullshit, but it's just not true. Never mind.
Okay.
Fox, don't say it bullshit.
No, I'm trying my best.
Oh, it's a great still there, by the way, Harris. You look very good.
Yeah. You do look good, yeah.
These are skills, and if you want to refine your skills on that, I would highly recommend watching Ian Dansky's Alt-Right Playbook as a starter, and then checking out persuasive leftist rhetoricians to learn by example. And once you're sufficiently inoculated to chud ideas, maybe even start studying their rhetoric to see who buys into it and how to effectively intercept their targets. And when it comes to professional chuds, people who can't publicly change their political positions or risk losing their careers, then don't go after the con artists themselves, try to intercept the marks. Assimilationists. These are the people who embody the phrase, justice? Nah, just us. With almost every civil rights struggle ever, there's a temptation to throw other related struggles under the bus. A real political selfishness that many rationalized as pragmatism. There was racism within the suffragette movement. One of the first debates I remember after discovering my own sexuality was for a non-discrimination act that was floating around, and LGBT groups were split on whether or not to add gender identity in addition to sexual orientation, with the fear being that if the protections for trans people were added, then they would lose key votes and therefore not make any progress. And so it became a sort of trolley problem. Do nothing and only trans people get run over. Flip the switch, trans and gay people get run over. Except, here's the thing with the trolley problem. The problem is the trolley, not the person at the switch.
Yes, exactly. That's it's always so annoying, that meme. Because A,
Yeah.
a trolley is not a society, it's much more complex than that. And B, why does anyone have to get killed by the fucking trolley? Stop the trolley! What? Anyway, sorry.
The solution in the end isn't to flip the switch to the path of least destruction, it's to prevent the destructive tendencies of the trolley. And that's the ultimate flaw of assimilationism. The goal of assimilationism is to appeal to the sensibilities of the dominant group, which requires complicity with the harmful assumptions that the status quo relies on. An example would be gay people who distance themselves from pride parades, from people radically trying to counter homophobia and harmful norms of what sexuality is, or should look like, or how it should be expressed. Their goal is to step on others to reach acceptance, and then pull the ladder up behind them. It's beyond selfish, and I will not have it. Science denies that trans.
Can I just say, by the way, did you ever see many transphobes on Twitter talking about like the whole sexual inversion theory? Because I have.
No, what? No.
No?
Tell me more.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have to take this one because I didn't either.
Okay, no, seriously? Okay, that's basically, well, if CritFacts were here, then they would assist me on this. But basically, sexual inversion was like a really old Freudian theory on human sexuality.
Why are people still bringing up Freud? Freud was a fucking hack. Sorry,
I know,
go on.
he was such a loser, but
I do respect him for writing a whole book about how much he loved Coke, though.
That's fair. Actually,
the only thing that I respect from Freud is that he really pulled the trigger on that. Wrote the whole thing and was like, "Yes, this is a good idea." I wish I had that kind of self-confidence, but then again, I don't like Coke that much, so maybe that's the problem.
Well, one of his great pieces of doctoring was that he had people. He would prescribe them what we now know as incredibly like class A drugs. And what he had some person taking opium, which is basically heroin, and they became addicted to that. So he moved them on to taking both opium and cocaine. You're a genius,
He was just trying
mate.
to make people fun. As fun
Yeah.
as him.
Yeah, what people with psychiatric problems need is hardcore drugs. That'll help.
More energy and delusions.
MK Ultra. That's
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, back to the very serious thing. I'm sure you're going to say now.
The sexual inversion theory is I think it was coined by Freud, but I'm not sure anymore. But it's basically the theory that being gay is like just is broken heterosexuality.
Oh, okay. So like a man wants to be a woman type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
That's also and that's also why the whole AGP thing. That was like the whole Blanchard typology. That's really popular among transphobes. That's why that has such a grip among those types of bigots. It's because it stems from like that same sort of rhetoric of like trying to describe some like an identity or like sexuality to like some kind of psychological mishap almost. You know, it's like they're not really gay. They're just they're just straight but broken. You know, and I feel like you can look at Blanchard's typology in a similar way, where it's really about looking at trans people as just like, well, they're either broken gay people or they're just straight people with a fetish, you know, like that.
Yeah.
I did have one guy on Twitter tell me that I wasn't in fact trans. I was just a man with low testosterone.
Well, you must have been really interested to find that out. That you weren't trans.
Yeah, I mean, it was news to me, especially considering that I have high testosterone. So that really. I get a lot of my medical advice from Twitter, so that really turned me around.
Good.
Yeah, get bodied by bleep masculinity.
By me being absolutely jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've definitely heard the theory that as we talked about earlier, the running out of lesbians because trans people. somehow.
Yeah. Too many trans women are lesbians and they don't count, so we're running out of lesbians.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they treat transness as a sexuality, which of course is not true.
No.
Like
entirely unrelated.
You get both straight, gay, bi, pan, trans people.
Yeah, and asexual trans people.
And
you get
indeed,
so many flavors of trans people because they're people. They're another flavor of people.
They are.
That's all it is.
So.
Oh, that sounds like a delicious cocktail.
It does, doesn't it?
Stonewall says things like makes the rest of us look bad, follows the LGB alliance, demands that LGB and T advocacy be separated somehow, calls
Correct
himself
response.
gender-free, says things like gay not queer, claims that, quote, queer theory is taking over, but can't cite any current or respected proposal.
Yeah, the LGB alliance people are fucking trash. Oh my
I think
God.
I think the LGB alliance blocked CritFacts. I'm not too sure.
I know
They haven't blocked me.
No, they haven't blocked me either. But I am proud to say I am blocked by Wolf, because I pointed out to them. With Wolf, by the way, is like a so-called radical feminist organization. But basically, I pointed out to them that they were funded by right-wing extremists, and then they blocked me. And I think there's another one of those organizations. There's so many of them, and they're all British.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
TERF Island? Why?
They all seem to be, especially LGB Alliance, seems to be 5 people who just pretend that they have branches all over the world.
Yeah,
But there's just like 10 of them in a room.
Well, I saw
it was the LGB Alliance USA. Those guys blocked me.
Yeah, well, it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know you're talking about, because I saw a thing. They started one in Ireland. There was LGB Ireland, and they.
And there's one in Iceland as well.
Yeah, someone looked up their membership, and I think they had something like 36 members, and 34 of them lived in the UK.
Yeah.
So you've got 2 people in Ireland. Then that's not enormously impressive, guys.
Well,
let's be
they have
honest.
2 people not in the UK, so
Yeah,
not even necessarily Ireland.
Yeah.
I kind of want to make like a special account for just LGB Alliance the Netherlands, just so that account is taken and I can just turn it into a parody account.
That's like that guy. Do you see that screenshot of the guy that had claimed the at Transphobia? And it's just some dude, and he's just like, "Don't worry, guys, it's chill. I'm just claiming it."
I do remember how like what was it? Graham Linan's website, cleaner.co.uk.
Yeah.
Somebody bought it up and like it made it refer to like mermaids. Website. That was just absolute like king shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we call a pro gamer move.
Queer theory, or even define it, just point to really old nobodies that were ultimately rejected from the movement as if they represent the movement now, claims that trans people or their allies are trying to, quote, like trans away the gay. Tactics. What was that person again? Jermaine Greer. Yes.
Oh, yes.
That was one of those old... that person is so absolutely disgusting. And she is a pedophile too, by the way.
Yeah, I remember an old, I think it was Frankie Boyle, who made a joke about her on Mock the Week once, and he said that he hoped that she'd trip over her own tits and die. Which really tickles me to this day. Yeah. It's like an ancient joke now.
But that's the thing.
When he was allowed on TV.
Yeah, we're not helping ourselves in Britain by importing Australian TERFs as well. Like, it's not helping.
No, yeah. Indeed. Like and like
they're doing a decent job over there.
Yeah, indeed. You don't need your help. And but Jermaine Greer, she wrote like an entire book about her pedophilia, basically. You know.
Yeah.
And like and sometimes I sometimes browse just Mumsnet forums just when I feel like tormenting myself.
Be careful! Be careful for rogue Glinner dick pics. Just
Oh no!
They're like snakes in the grass, but like really gross small ones.
But I still find a lot of like comments that say like, "Yeah, Jermaine Greer, she's my shero," and this and that, and I'm like, "You're supporting an actual pedophile." she is an actual pedophile, and
Which is
it's so gross.
Interesting for Mum's net. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about the children?
Exactly.
Yes, think of the children.
Think of the children. I'm going to support this paedophile. They seem to really care about children.
Yeah, this cis woman who actually has attacked children. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yes.
Fuck's sake.
Assimilationists will always try to appeal to transphobic tropes to evoke transphobia in the hope that by distancing themselves from trans people, they can make themselves look better in comparison. They never dare challenge the actual systems or attitudes that marginalize gay, queer, or trans people. Otherwise, they would acknowledge that all of our struggles are intertwined. Patriarchy relies on telling people that there is a way that people should be, who we should like, and how we should identify, all based on our birth sex and reproductive potential. It's not hard to see that the idea of if you are born with a
Pepsi,
you must partner with someone who was born with a
vegetable,
or vice versa and make babies together is especially harmful to gay, bi, asexual and trans people. I mean, it's even harmful to cisheads because that's still societal pressure and we should all get to decide what we want out of our lives without external pressure. But LGBTQI people are more likely to not be comfortable with the prescribed outcomes. This kind of person can rarely be convinced directly. They'd need actual in-person experience interacting with trans people in order to have meaningful realization that solidarity is the way to go, not political selfishness. But you can dissuade people who are observing this and keep their arguments from taking hold in onlookers by pointing out how various forms of bigotry are related, and also by pointing out the comorbidity of different kinds of bigotries. In particular, point out how the people they're allying with are often members of the far right, who, if trans people were to be anchored more securely in their oppression again, would then move on to attacking gay people and gay rights. When they post an article...
Yeah, when they said first they came for the socialists, and etc., they didn't stop at any point.
No.
If they get rid of trans people, they'll come after you too.
Yeah.
You can see that too. I mean, in a lot of those organizations, even like I said, the lawyer guy who worked with Keira Bell. Yeah. I mean, he worked for a Heritage Foundation. What does he know about women's rights? He doesn't give a crap about women's rights. He works for like anti-abortion folks,
Yeah.
People who are actively against abortion, actively against actively pro-marriage, against gay marriage too, it's not just the trans
actively against women's freedoms, just generally. They have a preconceived idea of what women should be and what they should be doing, and they fight against the things that don't align with that because they're so confident that the right thing for a woman to do is to be in a family and make a family with a man.
Basically, transphobia rots the brain.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes. From a smaller publication or platform, follow that platform back to its source and look at their other positions. Here somebody says puberty blockers are poison and they provide a video by Family Watch International. Family Watch International, if you look at their positions and their video library, are about families, globalism, pornography, same-sex attraction, sexual education, therapy ban films, and transgender. That does not sound like a very gay inclusive group. We're all in this together. Transphobia is rooted in homophobia, and homophobia is rooted in sex essentialism. They cannot be separated, and attempts to separate them only serve the goals of bigots to divide and conquer those who want to marginalize, oppress, and erase.
True.
Chasers. In before a chaser says, I'm not a transphobe, I'm a transphile. No. Chasers are people who fetishize trans people, most commonly trans women, but trans men are not immune to this problem either. And there's enough to unpack here for a whole video in its own right. But the need to know is, it's not respect to treat people as sexual objects, assisting only to fulfill sexual desires.
See, I can't stand that people using their cats for content. It's just outrageous to me. I think everyone in my chat knows I would never do that with my cat. It's never happened, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I have, I'm not proud to admit, but I have extensive experience with chasers, generally, because I was on the market while trans for a while, and it's rough.
Yeah.
It's a bad time. Because like one person will say like, "Oh, you're so hot," and then they'll use a slur, and then they'll ask you to do things for them, and then the next person will be like, "Oh, I don't date trans women," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." That's like it like alternates back and forth between being fetishized and being disgusted of, kind of.
Desire, even if that desire isn't heteronormative, chasers are transphobic for the same reason that pickup artists are misogynists. There's absolutely the room for a healthy sexual appreciation of people whose combinations of sexual characteristics and gender expression deviate from the typical binary, but chasers are not that. Science treats trans people the way your typical chauvinist pig treats women, or the way a race fetishizing pig treats people of color. Tactics. The same tactics the more common forms of misogynists use against cis women. Unsolicited dick pics, objectifying solicitation for sexual attention. Just block them. TERFs. A majority of people that I go after, both on Twitter and in my videos, are TERFs. The acronym stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. They almost always call themselves gender critical, but that's just rebranding, akin to eugenicists trying to call themselves race realists. The term was coined by...
CritFacts is in the chat. Hello, CritFacts.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
Hi, Crit.
Oh, no. That's...
I know my manager's here.
Yes, we need to perform well now. We're gonna...
Oh my god, guys, my boss.
It's good. It's good to see that Crit's here transmitting from the spacecraft that they live on.
Yes.
Yeah, I will neither confirm nor deny that.
Yeah, I'm just saying I've got my suspicions that they're an alien. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Do they have anything to say about the cat content, or is that just?
They
to anyone else?
They were talking to. Okay. I was so proud of the visual pun. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is good.
Just got it.
Oh, dear. All right. Okay.
This is my second time round on the video, and I just got it.
Fair enough.
I think
Viv Smith.
You know, because pussy.
Gender woman and self-proclaimed radical feminist. A radical feminist being someone who rightfully believes that we can't make small adjustments to our culture here and there to end sexism. We have to make dramatic overhauls and massive changes. By adding the T and E, not to be confused with T and A, Viv was trying to point out that so many would-be feminists were falling for the trap of sex essentialization, which is itself profoundly anti-feminist, and through that becoming overtly transphobic. And gradually, that branched out into a movement of people who call themselves feminists, but who are ultimately just hateful of trans people. The reason that I focus hardest on TERFs in my work is because they're the ones who have the most clout in discussions about trans people and trans rights. Since they wear the pretense of feminism, they're most likely to have the ears and attention of people who are otherwise progressive. They're the most likely to be able to mask outright transphobia under plausible deniability and misleading rhetoric because they speak the language of feminism most fluently of all the other groups. And speaking of the other groups, side note that there is a lot of overlap with them and the...
No, CritFacts, I got it. They were chasing the laser pointer. Yeah.
I read it as just a pussy joke. My bad. That says a lot more about me than it does about CritFacts.
Maybe it does. But then again, that's kind of relevant to what's being said. So
yeah, it's a joke that works on many levels.
This is a good place to stop anyway, because the hiding behind seemingly feminist rhetoric is a thing that JK is good at.
Oh yeah.
Because like I've seen people get caught out by it, and I remember Mark Hamill getting caught out by it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he liked the one that's like that ends with denying sex is bad or whatever. You know, it starts off with sleep with whoever you want, and then ends with that. And I remember him. I think he liked it, and a bunch of people were like, "Whoa, this is weird," and he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that was what that was about," which is totally understandable.
Yeah,
because if you read it with no context of who J.K. Rowling is and what she does, it's just a kind of weird tweet. It's not that bad if you don't know the context.
No. Yeah, they really do. Yeah, like speak the language. It's
exactly. If if you're more of a sort of pop feminist, especially if you're someone who's like a celebrity who wants to either do it for the clout or because they genuinely believe a thing, and they want the good PR as well. They, and someone says, "Oh, we're going to defend women and girls from predators." That sounds like a good thing to get on board with.
Exactly.
If you don't look any further than that,
Yeah.
I mean, in that regard, a lot of bigots do that thing as well. Like I know you've talked a lot to Sargon of Akkad, but I remember a couple of years ago, I've received a lot of his videos in my recommendations when I was like going through like lots of political videos. And
thanks YouTube algorithm, you dickhead.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
And like he kind of does that same thing where he doesn't like he has a way of putting it, in words to make things sound reasonable,
Yeah.
When actually when you think about
it, it's kind of an abuse tactic of being like just vague enough that it sounds like you're talking about something that you're not.
Yeah, and it's really made to get people in on it, to just, I hate to say it, but just people who are more gullible of those sorts of things.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, especially on YouTube, because you've got to bear in mind, people are watching this, in their underwear after work. Like they're doing it for a bit of entertainment or whatever. They're not going to look too deeply into it.
They're taking it pretty lightly.
Yeah.
As media goes, it's not because like when you watch, if you're watching like a documentary, that's the context you're watching it under. So you take it with a bit of salt and you're kind of looking at it in a critical way. But when you watch, especially Sargon does that thing where it kind of feels like he's just kind of talking. Yeah. He hasn't really thought about it.
Yeah.
You kind of let it, it comes off as being kind of lighter and harmless.
Yeah, exactly. And
in a way.
Then he does the smug chuckle and then...
Yeah.
Yeah, he will throw in a smuckle every now and then.
Yeah. English people are terrible for smuckles.
Oh, yeah.
They suck.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking them.
Basically, yeah. I was about to say, Boris Johnson basically is. We've got a smuckle prime minister.
He's just one long smuckle.
He is. Mixed in with racism as well. But yeah.
Before I went into this, I was kind of scared this was gonna turn into like one big just shitting on British people episode.
Well, he was right.
Yeah.
Well, I literally just did a stream the other day called the Festival of Brexit? Why I Hate Britain. So like it's not.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, I think I might like this guy.
Yeah.
Like exactly, I hate Britain and I'm not even trans, so I don't even have to put up with that shit. But it's still shit.
Yeah, you can imagine how I feel.
Yeah, no, dreadful, absolutely awful shit. Yeah.
It's why I usually just call it TERF Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the good thing about an island is it's easier to sink. So you never know.
Also, can I just...
plate tectonics has entered the chat.
Can I just point out that I can just tell by the gameplay which gameplay footage is like recorded by CritFacts. They are notoriously good, and I say good in quotes.
Oh, we're getting gameplay shade thrown.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah, to be fair, when we were last playing together, it was a running gag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's just like how long will it take before CritFacts dies again?
Yeah, and I recently got a VR headset, and I haven't tried Phasmophobia with it yet, but I'm preemptively shitting myself. I'm actually not looking forward to it, but I know I eventually will. I eventually will do it.
I want to capture that on stream too.
Yeah, I'll do that for the content, but I won't do it for my own enjoyment.
Views.
Yeah, I'll do it for the views.
Exactly.
That delicious, views and subs and followers that they seem to think all the trans people get, because somehow they think the trans people are in control of the media somehow.
Yeah, God, I wish.
Yeah, can I just want to say again thank you to both of you from taking your some time out of your busy schedule running the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have no idea how much time you're wasting right now.
I was just talking to Caitlyn Jenner the other day, and
we were we were all talking to her with our minds.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. I just have a device that is just like that has all the trans people I know, just all the famous trans people. They have that. They just call each other
Yeah.
like, on the go. You know, like if you're
Yeah.
trans, you're given this device.
Yeah.
You're in on it.
Okay. Yes. So
Okay,
I'll
Lore went deep. Sorry.
transition from, ironically, I suppose, from that joke to the serious video again.
Assimilationists. Most LGBT TERFs are themselves rabid assimilationists. And dear lord, are they persistent and nasty and... Science. Strap in, there's a lot here. Tries to disrupt discussions with define woman, answers with adult human female, or has that in their bio. Uses the terms natal females or natal women. Claims that cis is hate speech or that TERF is a slur. Sex-based rights, but never actually answers as to which rights should be granted to some people but not others based on legal sex classification. Talks about peak trans, the act of exploiting transphobic anxieties latent in many people who haven't examined those issues to induce more overt transphobia, as if that's a good thing. The Stanleyland question. Do you believe that male-sexed people should have the right to undress and shower in a communal changing room with teenage girls? Helen Stanleyland, by the way, publicly laughed at a case where a trans girl was physically attacked by a classmate for using a gender-neutral bathroom. So much for the pretense of keeping spaces segregated. I heart J.K. Rowling. Rowling drawn as a saint as profile picture. Hashtag I stand with J.K. Rowling. Hashtag I stand with Keira Bell. Listen.
Have you ever seen a more cursed image than the J.K. Rowling as a saint?
Oh, I don't know. I grew up on the internet, so the answer's going to have to be yes.
Yes, I have. I have just the right picture. I have to show it now.
But
I've got a running
about this one is I'll talk while you do it. The TERF is a slur one, because that birthed my favorite meme of all time of Sonic the Hedgehog saying, if TERF is a slur to silence you, damn, I wish it would. Shut the fuck up. And I've actually got to use it once, and I'm so proud.
Here, I sent it in the Discord chat. This is a cursed image.
Oh no! What is that?
That is a drawing by a TERF.
Oh god, hang on. I'll. Can
Very
I?
cursed.
TERFs can't art. Fun fact.
Unable to save image preview. Oh god. How do I get it onto screen then?
Oh no!
I think if you click it, it should say like.
It's too
open the browser.
Open. Hang on a second. Come on now. Copy image. Unable to copy. It's not having it. It's not having. Basically, it's a human face.
It's a magical image.
Oh, hang on. It's doing a thing. There we go. Okay, so I'll go on to. Good lord. Window capture.
I feel like I'm at school again.
There you go.
Where are we?
I think you love technology.
I'm really bad at the technologies. Hang on, I'll just go to screen. There we go. Right. Boom. There. This abomination. There. Oh, fucking Christ. That is.
Well, that's cursed.
That's cursed. That's cursed.
Yeah.
Although I've got a running gag on my show where I've got a picture. I mocked up a picture of Ted Cruz on the fat naked man's body and then blurred out the genitals, which I sometimes bring up on screen as a joke. But yeah,
I thought you would have more like a running gag with Sargon.
I do. Well, I've actually got because the show I do with Christy Winters, which is sort of regular thing.
Yes.
We bring it up often. I've got he's got him and his friend who we call Joey. So we've got Sargon and Joey as an intro thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
by the way, can I just say that one video you did with where you basically bodied Sargon together with Christy? That is still set in my mind, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I saw it live actually.
Really? Oh, well,
it was very satisfying. Yeah.
Oh well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, me and Christy enjoyed it enormously. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just like what was it, like 2 hours? Just like
of
he was just getting bodied.
Yeah, and then he left for about half an hour, and then or 10 minutes or so, and then came back. And was like, I was putting you on the naughty step. And we just fell apart. God,
And then he just laughed at him.
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
And then after that, off air, he decided to try and stick around and have like a chat with us, like his friends. And we were like, we just fucked you up. What are you doing? Leave. Go and lick your wounds.
Stay down.
Yeah.
Yes, it does go to show that with what we discussed previously about just laughing at bigots, it does work. It gives off just it really makes people see them for the clowns they are, basically. He couldn't smug chuckle his way out of that one.
Yeah, indeed. Someone points out in the chat a fantastic analogy. It looks like that the thing with the ovaries for ears or whatever. It looks like a Men in Black character.
Oh
It
yeah.
does. Yeah.
It does.
Oh god.
Like the opposite of a Bolchinian.
Yes.
Oh.
Anyway.
That's so cursed.
Yes, indeed.
To detransitioners and unsubstantiated claims that someone is transing kids. Insistence that dysphoria magically ceases after puberty, or that typical difficulties that cis kids experience during puberty are easily mistaken for dysphoria, tries to frame any and all criticism of their transphobia as, quote, attacking women, but can never substantiate any claim of their opponents being misogynistic. I just want to protect children from dangerous unknown experimental treatments with permanent irreversible effects. Will gladly side with anyone else, no matter how homophobic, racist or sexist they are, as long as that person also hates trans people. Refers to trans people and their allies as TRAs, trying to implicitly compare them to MRAs or
Fun
men's
fact,
rights activists.
I just when I just started the stream, I had somebody come into my Twitch chat to talk shit about quote TRAs.
Oh wow, okay.
And I swiftly banned them.
Yeah. And it's interesting now that like you say, it's done to try and evoke the idea of the MRAs, but the TERFs
MRAs. Aren't MRAs known to love trans people? Sarcasm.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, they do. They're a white cis man's organization, clearly.
Oh
Yeah.
Totally. Like it's not like
Yeah.
they talk shit about trans people like constantly, and
Oh, yeah.
they absolutely hate trans people.
Indeed, yes. And the TERFs are now allying themselves with MRAs on fights like, keeping male-bodied people out of toilets or whatever. They're just these are garbage fucks, man. Really.
Activists, which is itself just a cover for anti-feminism. This, despite the fact that MRAs hate trans people too, uses outdated or discredited research to back up their transphobic assertions and then dodging when the flaws of that research is pointed out. Cry about trans women in female prisons, but never talk about how prisons are fundamentally unsafe for all inhabitants. Sex is immutable. You can't change sex. Sex is binary. On repeat. Bang on about the wrong body metaphor as if it was ever used prescriptively. Tactics. The main tactics of TERFs are the aforementioned peak trans tactic, plausible deniability, deflection, and Darvo. Take for instance the patron saint of all TERFs, Jo Karen Rowling. Her infamous letter, Reasons for Speaking Out on Sex and Gender Issues, repeats many of the false and misleading claims used by transphobes consistently and frames the number of trans people who are out as an alarming trend, as if it's growing out of control. Soon there will be no cis people left to make the babies. But of course, that same letter, the one where she...
So if there are going to be no cis people and no gay people, what people are going to be left? Trans straight
No one
people?
fun.
Just trans straight people will be left, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've no idea. I've never even bothered to try and unpack it.
Of course, and of course, CritFacts, the omniscient alien fucks goddess.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
He frames trans people as an existential threat to cis women, frames being trans as a social contagion that leads people to snort hormones at 5 and get surgery at 12. That she loves trans people and would totally march alongside trans people should they ever face real oppression. One of the more important things to point out is peak trans. which is an important part of many TERF narratives. Many frame themselves as formerly being trans allies, until the bad ones pushed them away, and they could no longer condone, quote, denying biological reality, or that trans rights groups just went too far. Peak trans is when someone's one thing that I find so interesting is like about peak trans, hashtag peak trans, is that like if your concept of trans people hinges on the perception you have of a couple of well-known trans people who you've seen in the news, then you've never been an ally in the first place.
Yeah.
You know? Imagine saying the same thing about like a black person or like a Muslim, you know, like, well, I've seen this Muslim once, this Muslim was in the news, you know, or 9/11 happened, therefore therefore Muslims bad, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, it's also similar, it seems to me, to the people who have, quote, left the left. It's you're looking for a way to try and rationalize either bigotry or grifting.
Yeah. Or you get the toxic combination of both, and you get like Ariella Scarcella. She's foul. I think we've covered her a few times on this channel. Oh,
and she's very unpleasant person in a number of ways. Especially because she goes in about we talked earlier about the fetishization of female. Basically, the only views she gets are on the transphobe videos and the videos where she's essentially trying to sexualize being a woman by with the kind of weird softcore porn. Which, by the way, you can do softcore porn. I don't care about that. That's fine. But don't pretend to act like you're doing this for some like integrity reason. You're doing titillation for straight men.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing is kind of like weird anyway. Like if you're a TERF lesbian, and you have this entire concept of like trans women as like people who are invading lesbian spaces because otherwise there won't be any lesbians left for you to date. That's pretty sexist to begin with, you know. That's really, really fucking sexist. So you're basically saying like there won't be any lesbians left for me, you know. That's basically kind of what it comes down to, of what is implied anyway, you know.
True, but it must be difficult for her because she goes down the lesbian supermarket and the stocks are low. It's a tragic
there
affair.
Are so few lesbian stonks these days. There's just so few.
Lesbian stonks. Oh, there's a 21st century meme for everybody. Good lord.
You know, well, that's why I put all my stonks in.
Yeah. I actually don't because apparently we're losing all of the lesbians, so it's time to sell.
Exactly,
sell.
Short sell the lesbians. That's what you're gonna do.
Well, it's fine anyway because stonks are not real anyway, and it's just
money isn't real.
So are lesbians? If lesbians are stonks and stonks aren't real, are lesbians real?
Oh god,
no.
Sexuality
isn't real.
We've worked it all out. People aren't real. They don't exist.
You can't categorize people that easily. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah. Which means that, as Rachel described himself as a person at the start, they were lying to us.
Yes.
See, logic is fun when you just make nonsense up.
When you ignore logic is really fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Transphobic anxieties are exploited or magnified, usually by carefully curated negative examples from more devout transphobes, until that person themselves believe they've had their eyes opened to how trans people really are, when, in fact, they've had a twisted view of trans people force-fed to them to get them to snap and become adamantly transphobic. It's almost the same exact mechanism as the red pill for chuds. The Stanleyland question in particular is a prime example of this. It's trying to evoke a mental image of a hulking, powerful, predatory man forcing a dainty, helpless girl to behold his gelatin. It evokes, by association, fear-mongering tactics of showing contrived examples of little girls being attacked in public bathrooms by burly men, despite that not actually being a systemic problem. They're trying to use salient exemplars to TERF bill everyone around them. The full playbook of TERFs is actually quite varied, and I'll probably have a whole series of videos out on them all, with in-depth explanations of the rhetorical tools they use, why they use them, and how to counter them. For now, it's enough to leave it at this. Dunk, block, and drown them out. Bait them into admitting the cruelty that is the logical conclusion of their arguments, and send the fruits to @GC-misogyny, @GC-racism, and @GC-homophobia. Do not try to reason with them, because they are virtually never engaging in good faith. They are arguing dishonestly and will try to manipulate you if you go in diplomatically. All transphobes are bad, but TERFs are among the absolute worst in terms of bad faith debates. And the reason is because they've been led to believe that trans people are an existential threat to cis women, to lesbians, and to gay people, and to women's rights, and women's right to be exploited in a sex-segregated prison industrial complex. And most importantly, women's sports. They legitimately believe
Nice
that
run-on
trans people
sentence
are...
again.
It's worth it though.
Did you get that sentence? Like the prison complex, the prison industrial complex. Oh, God damn.
Rachel, it was worth it, and you delivered it wonderfully. It was a good line, and it wouldn't have worked if it wasn't a run-on sentence.
Did you? You have no idea how many takes that took me. For real.
Whenever I've done voiceover, it's not the run-on sentences that ruin me. It's the times when I have to say things that are really funny because they're so ridiculous, and I can't say them without laughing.
I guess this is the point where I just bring out my old excuse that English isn't actually my.
It's your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th language, something like that.
No. It's I would say this one. It would just be my second.
Okay,
Yeah.
But you do it well. Your English is much better than my Dutch. Let's put it that way.
Well,
Yes.
we have no evidence of that yet, no.
Well, I couldn't even do a joke because I don't know any words in Dutch, so I got nothing.
I don't either.
Aww.
I couldn't. I literally couldn't say hello. I don't know anything at all.
Hoi. Very good.
Yeah, you just say it in English and speak louder. That's what you got to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just
slower and louder.
pretend you have something in your throat, and yeah, just speak German and English like at the same time.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, isn't Dutch just English in a German accent?
No, people are led to believe that. So roll with it.
I'm not even close to believing that. Just to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, some people do, but that's drifting off topic now.
So anyway, casual racism aside against the Dutch, let's move on.
Are a critical pillar of the patriarchy, part of a war on women, and all part of a bizarre plot to replace cis women. I'm not fucking joking. They think the 1% of people who are trans are somehow going to overrun the 50-ish% of all humans who are cis women, or that every cis woman is going to be transed into a man. Somehow. As mentioned before, someone can't be reasoned out of a position that they did not reason themselves into. TERFs have to de-radicalize themselves, and that's difficult emotional work. The most likely way to motivate them to actually do that work is to put on blast the comorbid forms of bigotry that TERFs endorse and commit themselves to, until finally they can no longer turn away and they have to admit.
The British flag makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, no.
Every time I see it, it makes my toes curl in the bad way.
This is like here's an example of a comorbidity of bigotry, and you see like white nationalists with like British flag and.
Yeah,
gross.
Yeah, there was a time where it looked like the British flag might be regainable or something, but every time you see it, it's always some dickhead. Like there's never like
any nationalism to me makes me uncomfortable, but
same. Yeah.
Particularly British nationalism is like, oh.
And even then, it's mostly English, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Like even you get the occasional Welsh or Scot, but mostly it's English, and mostly it's gammon madness.
Mm-hmm.
Gammon, yeah.
Admit that they themselves are part of a hate movement. And more importantly, we have to intercept the people they would otherwise persuade. Again, they're the most persuasive to people who would otherwise be supportive of trans rights, because they have practiced exploiting transphobic anxieties that are common, and they know how to lead people into believing the lies that got them into it. Do not engage with TERFs unless you are prepared and willing to deal with some of the worst kinds of abuse they can dish out. They will dox people, persistently harass and abuse, instigate extremely malicious dog piles, and otherwise try to make you miserable for daring to face the dragon. I'm resilient as fuck, and I've even gotten through my armor more than once. The most effective tactics I can recommend are: bait them into saying indefensible things that you can either call out, dunk on, or report. Call out their deceptive and dishonest argument tactics. Especially with bigger transphobe accounts, fill the replies with links to trans-positive YouTubers or other creators. Reply to Schreier trying to shill her book with links to videos that go in-depth on how it's cruel and dishonest. Philosophy tube videos.
That's the point with the Schreier. She's written the awful book. You mentioned in one of the things that there was going to be some sort of review of the book on the channel. Is that being worked on at all?
I know for a fact that what's his face made a video about it. What's the guy?
I don't know.
SJW debates.
Oh yes, Bojangles.
Yeah, Jangles.
Oh, just Jangles. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, Jangles. Basically, CritFacts bought the book for him online, and he made a video about it. But I'm totally for just making an in-depth review of it. But then again, there are like lots of really good in-depth. But I think we could do like a cool CritFacts spin on it. I think that would.
I think maybe we could do a really good like fast one. You know, like a good like run through of how awful it is.
Yeah.
So that you can feel filled in enough to know that it's a piece of shit.
And also kind of dunk on it a little bit more.
Yeah. Make fun of it a bunch.
Yeah, because like a lot of the videos that are available now, they kind of go. They really pick it apart, like in all the real nitty gritty, you know.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to just have one that's a little bit more off the cuff, a little bit more, a little bit more just poking fun at just the ridiculousness of
yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I look forward to that. Yes.
If CritFacts is still listening in the chat, then
we're up for it.
Yeah,
I'll need a bit of a break before I edit that one because the JK one really took it out of me, and I feel like that one probably will too.
Well, get to work, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't say that. Sorry, I'll be fired.
Yeah, they'll never get you to voice again.
Them into responding, put pressure on them to engage with ideas that counter their bigotries. And, as an added bonus, everyone who clicks any of those links will have more trans-inclusive videographers recommended to them. You've heard of alt-right pipeline? Get ready for the leftist pipeline, where people are gradually exposed to ideas that help them care about their fellow human being, baby! I'm going to cut it short here, because there's two smaller groups I want to mention. Transmedicalists. Yes, you can be trans and transphobic, just like you can be gay and homophobic, or a woman and still be a misogynist. Transmedicalists are those who believe that being trans is a disorder defined by gender dysphoria, as opposed to trans being a subset of the many natural variations of gender. And that belief is transphobic for the same reason as believing that being gay is sexual inversion or induced by sexual trauma. Their goal is to assert that trans should be treated as a mental illness so that they can obtain treatment, in this case transition. The only problem here is that they're playing into the hands of people who are happy to see transness as a disease that must be eliminated, and not by letting people transition. Transphobes don't want to give trans people that kind of bodily autonomy. They want to force trans people to undergo conversion therapy. There are exactly two grains of truth to transmedicalists. One, that being trans is not a choice. Two, that dysphoria is bad to the point where it often warrants being treated as a form of medical distress. But with any medical condition, the patient should always be in full control of their treatments and free of external pressure. Transphobes want to pressure people away from medical transition, but transmedicalists are inadvertently pressuring people into medical transition that they might not otherwise want by pushing the line,
if you don't want to transition, you're faking it. You're not really trans. When there could be any number of reasons that a trans person would choose not to medically transition. Some can't because of their financial situation, for their own safety, as they would effectively be outed to dangerous transphobes. Some can't because of other medical conditions that would make it dangerous to medically transition. And if someone wants to merely socially transition and not medically transition, that's valid as fuck too. Let people decide what their own bodies mean to them and how.
That's the point. It's their fucking shit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, especially because transmedicalists. I don't know.
They're like, personally, I find them to be the most frustrating.
Me too.
Because it really feels like actively unhelpful.
Yeah.
Because you get people who, because like I was having a fight with someone on Twitter recently about, like, oh, if you're trans, you should want facial feminization surgery, and I was like, well, I don't.
It's also why I hate Blair White among
many other reasons.
But but like she pushed a lot of the same true scum rhetoric. You know, she also said like in a couple of her videos she was like, well, if you're really trans, then you should just and you want to make people around you more comfortable, you should want to go for voice therapy and all that. You know, it only takes like a few YouTube videos to just transform your voice into like this feminine Barbie doll. It's like, no,
the voice stuff pisses me off as well.
Yeah, it pisses me off.
It's so frustrating because like I've been in situations where like I've been in like Discord servers for trans people, and there's been someone saying like, oh, I'm really not getting anywhere with like voice training and I still sound like this. And I've always been like, well, you don't really need to. You can want to, and that's fine. But like the idea of a male or female voice is not really real. Like lots of people, lots of men have high-pitched voices, lots of women have low-pitched voices.
And besides all that, you shouldn't want to transition to make cis people more comfortable. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? Like, transition for someone else. You do it for yourself. Like,
and a lot of it sometimes boils down to how do you expect anyone to gender you correctly if you're not going to put the effort in and you have a bunch of surgeries and do all this stuff to yourself that you might not necessarily even want. And it's really frustrating because a lot of people get kind of caught up with, that kind of thing. And because it comes from trans people, a lot of cis people are like, well, I guess this is how trans people feel. It's like, no, it's not. Yeah. It's really, really not.
Yeah, that's especially frustrating. And then they get like millions of views. Like, right. Thankfully, it's kind of subsiding a little bit now, but Jesus.
It's getting better, but it's still ultimately really frustrating.
If you want really funny trans stuff with like just with a slight edge to it, just go to CritFacts.
Yes, quality shilling. I like it.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, in terms of the treatments and stuff, a lot of it will depend, even if someone does want to get surgery or some sort of medical intervention, on what they're dysphoric about as well. Like maybe they have a certain thing with their voice, maybe they don't. Maybe it's a facial thing. Maybe it's like some people have like a man transitioning to be male to female. Their facial hair can be a problem, so they have electrolysis and things like that. And that has to be taken into account as well. Why do you have again? If the whole point is they're not trying to mimic their gender or their some sort of sexual characteristics, why is it that you have to look like Blair White?
Yeah,
because then you are. You're literally saying that's the only thing that can be woman, and that's ridiculous. Obviously,
I hate the TERF rhetoric that trans people are pushing gender stereotypes.
Yeah,
because it's completely false and dumb.
Yeah, objectively wrong.
Objectively wrong, and also non-binary people exist.
Yeah.
But when I see Transmedicalist arguments, then I feel like they're doing exactly that. They're playing into the hands of exactly that sort of narrative,
Yeah.
Because that's how you push gender stereotypes by by playing into the societal expectations of what gender should be.
Yeah. Like there's all kinds of stuff that people, like whenever I talk to cis people about transition, which is not that often, but I'm very open to talking about it with people that just want to know. And they're always shocked when they're like, oh, do you want a boob job? And I'm like, no, not really.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want facial surgery? No, not really. Like, they're always so shocked because they have this idea that trans people want to just be in and out of the hospital all the time, getting surgeries, having stuff done to them. And it's just not, it's not true. Like some trans people can do that. And there's no different to another trans person not wanting to have any surgery at all or not wanting to do anything medically at all. They're still just as trans.
But even then, like if a cis person just goes to a hospital just to get like facial surgery or like any like plastic surgery just to make themselves feel more comfortable in their own body, like I don't believe like anyone would question that and say like, well, did you ever think about how you would make people around you feel? I feel like they wouldn't question as quickly.
Yeah. Funnily enough, before I knew I was trans, the idea of like plastic surgery used to make me really uncomfortable, and I used to think like, oh, people shouldn't do that. And then as soon as I accepted myself as trans, I was like, fuck yeah, change your face. Like, if you don't like it, change it. Like now I'm like completely for it. And it was because I hated my body and I was like, well, I hate my body, so everyone else should hate theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've talked about that before. It's, very. I think that's something that a lot of trans people relate to. And
well, as CritFacts, whoever that is, in the chat says, your body, your choice, bodily autonomy is a human right. I agree with them, whoever this stranger is. I don't know who they are.
Yeah, trans rights are human rights.
Yes, absolutely. How to navigate those bodies, for fuck's sake, or fuck's sake.
Ew.
Science. Okay, I just want to say I came up all by myself.
Of course you did.
What I did, I just improvised that line in the recording, and I was like, oh, it would be kind of funny if we left it in the video, and I did.
Yeah, I did. When you say they, you mean me. No, because I ultimately decide what goes in the video and what doesn't when it hits my desk, and I'm like, that's going. But I heard that bit and I was like, you know what? It's so bad, it's good. I'll leave it in.
It was mostly because the blueprint, the voice blueprint that I was working with, it had like the pronunciation of fuck's sake. It really did sound like fucks to me. So I was like, okay, let's just roll with that. I hate puns.
That was like how at the beginning of this video, when you say flashlight, it sounds mostly like flashlight. And I was thinking of getting you to re-record it, and then I was like, no, it's too funny. I'll leave it in.
Like, I have another British friend, and they said the same thing. They're like, oh, could you please just say torch instead of flashlight?
Oh, bless.
No, say flashlight. Just call torches flashlights.
Should. Absolutely. But no, well done on coming up with a pun in a second language. That's quite impressive. I like that.
And sexual, an outdated term used to specify someone who was transitioning or had already. Says shit like, you can't be trans without dysphoria, or non-binary isn't real. Tactics. The primary tactics of transmedicalists are to claim that they're just in it to make sure that trans people have access to transition under programs like the NHS. If they can classify it as a disease, then transitioning as a treatment would be covered, as opposed to it being considered elective. But again, this ignores the obvious thing that transphobes are going to try to do. Why let people get expensive surgery on taxpayer dollar when conversion therapy is comparatively cheap to provide? Furthermore, there are loads of problems with seeing transition exclusively as a treatment for binary trans people with dysphoria.
I should point out that conversion therapy is still legal in the UK as well.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yes.
wow. That's fucked. I didn't even know that. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's still perfectly legal.
I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's not in but
probably. It probably isn't, but it is legal here.
That's despicable. How is torture?
Yeah,
but then in the UK, rape is only a thing if a man does it. So.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think that's true.
It used to be, at least, because that's
I think
something that TERFs always bring up.
No. That's just them. That's their belief. That's not how the law works here.
Are you? Okay.
I can't. Yeah, I'm not a legal expert, but
I'm pretty confident that rape in the UK is defined by any kind of non-consensual sex.
It used to be defined by a penis.
Yeah, but I think that was true. I don't think that's true anymore.
I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right as well.
Both hope. Not the least of which is intense gatekeeping, most of which is counterproductive. Trans non-binary people, for example, are effectively shut out if they try to transition with systems that only allow transition as a response to intense dysphoria, even in cases where the non-binary person does have intense dysphoria. The good news is that transmedicalists are relatively few, so you don't have to worry about them often. But if you do encounter one in the wild, the best response is to just remind them, if you medicalize trans, they won't try to fix your dysphoria, not on your terms anyway, they'll try to fix your gender identity. Fuck that. Twistlings and pygmies. Oh yes, I went there.
It was a straight frame there, by the way. Not
Don't
sure
look at
who I'm supposed to blame for Crit, but
blame DaVinci Resolve is my
okay.
is my go-to on that one.
see. No, bad workman blames their tools. Come on now.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, DaVinci is free, so you can't complain that much.
I actually really like DaVinci. I use it too.
I love DaVinci. I exclusively use DaVinci for video editing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Works great.
Having mentioned that I wasn't going to put my cat on screen, as with every stream, I'm now going to put him on stream. He's going to try and bite me. He's biting me. No. Getting rid of kids.
Kevin's cat says trans rights.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed he does. He will scratch the eyes of TERFs, okay? Don't start.
Shit on the lap of transmedicalists.
Especially if you show them the horrible atrocity in that picture that I shared. Political discourse, aka ITPOL, refers to a member of a marginalized group who betrays the group that they are a part of, named after Vidkun Quisling, who helped Nazi Germany turn Norway into a puppet state during World War II. In short, they're the people who think that if they play to the sensibilities of the group that's doing the oppressing, then they can garner favor and sidestep the persecution they would otherwise receive, in return for helping to maintain the same persecution on others. This has been a problem in literally every civil rights struggle ever. Consider Milo Yiannopoulos, who told gay men in Australia that they should vote against marriage equality for gay couples in order to preserve Western society and prevent the degeneracy of homosexuality, while getting married to his husband at a ceremony held in Australia.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. Yeah.
He's a pretty gross guy.
He is.
It's that Dave Rubin syndrome.
Yeah, I'm still very proud of my small role in his downfall, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. I was, I did a video on him questioning his weird views about pedophilia, and it was those clips that were being played to him where he made the comments about the priest and that thing, and that was the videos that got clipped together by the Reagan Battalion and got him platform from
nice.
CPAC and stuff. So I was like, I had a tiny little hand in that. That's pretty cool.
That's good.
Oh, that's cool.
It was dope.
He did also try to be a furry for a bit. That was a bit weird.
Oh no, did he?
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, because of his dwindling attendance at conferences, because people just didn't want to see him.
Yeah.
And basically what he did was out of desperation, he tried to get a booth at a furrycon, and he even had a commission of his persona just that
his persona looked like a fucking prick as well.
And just to prove that he was legit about it, and of course, thankfully, I should say, the con organizers were like, "No, fuck that! You're a big, you're not getting in."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's good.
His persona had aviator mirrored shades on, so that tells you a lot about him.
Oh no, oh god, he's such garbage. That's yeah. Anyway, what was I going to say? Something. Yeah, good. Yeah, Nazi furs can fuck off.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Go in the bin.
Get in the bin.
In trans discourse, it seems anecdotally that there are a lot of quislings out there. And part of that, I think, is just because most of the gay quislings have been forgotten, quietly pretending that they have never said shit like, I'm gay, but I don't flaunt it like those gays. They give us a bad name. They're basically to trans people what N-logs are to women and girls. N-logs, for those of you who don't know, are not like other girls. And I'm linking an excellent video by Sarah Z, which talks about how internalized misogyny and our culture's habit of demonizing anything made for or that appeals to girls, especially teenage girls, is toxic. It creates a social atmosphere where some women, particularly young adults, feel the need to distance themselves from a demonization of their group by trashing on that group. Signs. Trans, often also Transmedicalist, publish a lot of content about the bad ones, focuses heavily on pointing out despicable people, all of whom happen to be trans. Parrots TERF rhetoric, including we need to protect children from transition, and
yeah, I was about to say, is this just a Blair White description now? Is that what's taking place here? Yeah.
There's also a couple of others. What's the face again? Debbie Hayton, I believe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's one called.
I've only in the last week found out who Debbie Hayton
really?
is.
I've
Yeah.
interacted with her. Like, I don't even know what to call her because, like, she calls herself a man, so that makes me think she's okay with just being called he. But it's really confusing to me. But
Yeah, I have no idea.
anyway, she actually writes for she writes for Russia Today, for RT.
Oh, so trustworthy then. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
RT, for those who don't know, is a state-operated.
Yeah, it's Vladimir Putin's weird little media outlet. Yeah.
This is a little pamphlet thing.
Yeah.
It's,
it's
and of course, the Russian government loves LGBT stuff.
Yeah, they love that.
Trustworthy source.
They
Famously.
Pride Parade was banned in Moscow for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be able to hold one in theory anyway until was it
Yeah.
2105 or something ridiculous? Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be gay until 2105. Russia says so.
Exactly. Which is magic because that's how it works. All the gays disappeared,
Yes.
and
that's
they'll
true.
reappear.
You don't hear about those anymore, do you?
No.
So they must not exist.
And they'll just reappear like Jumanji or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
trans-trenders or social contagion rhetoric tactics. The entirety of one of the good ones is to pander to transphobes, and you don't necessarily need to intervene. They'll either realize that they're catering to people who are trying to erase them, or they'll go past the moral event horizon and leave themselves to the mercy of people who will deny them the rights that they have sold their souls for. You might not be able to save them, but you can counter their rhetoric, and for that, basically respond to them the same way you would respond to TERFs. Make sure they don't get to post any transphobic talking points unchallenged. Ex-trans. Let me be clear before I continue. Detransitioners are valid. People detransition for a variety of reasons. Perhaps as they started to transition, they became more visible and they had to detransition to go back into the closet. Perhaps they medically detransitioned because of health reasons. Maybe they just discovered they weren't actually binary trans after all, that they were gender fluid and that transitioning wasn't going to provide any net benefit. That's probably the boat I'd be in if I tried to transition myself. But there's a difference between that
That's
and
CritFacts speaking.
ex-trans. So
Yes, yeah.
I'd also like to add that if your gender changes, that's also fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's not, I don't think it's mentioned in the video, but like, I remember, I can't remember who it was, but a trans woman talking about how when they were a kid, they were a boy. They were one of the boys, and they felt like a boy. And then that changed later on in their life.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because my experience was that I knew that I wasn't a boy, and then I didn't think about it any further than that.
Yeah. Actually, that's something that I'd like to bring up. It's the whole idea of I think back at like transmedicalism a little bit, because a lot of, well, not just transmedicalists, but a lot of trans people in general, they put forth this idea that
like if you're trans, you always know, you've always known.
Yeah.
And, Blair White always, and Oliver Ilk, they always put forth that same idea of like, if you're trans, you've always known, if you're like,
Yeah.
you should have known that from like 3 years old, like, and you should have always been girly or always been, the opposite.
Yeah.
But not all trans people experience it like that, and I feel trans people in general should be a little bit more open about that sort of thing towards other trans people, especially like younger trans people who are just coming out. Like you don't need to be trans isn't like some exclusive experience. Like gender isn't really set in stone like that. It's not like there is no one trans experience, and people change.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. I know for sure, for me anyway, personally, I didn't grow up all super girly girl all the time, like sometimes I felt differently too. And I think that's just valid, I still consider myself a woman. That's just who I am.
Yeah. I mean, I knew I wasn't a boy, but not because I was girly. I'm still not girly. It's just not, that's not the way it works at all.
Yeah.
And it would be, it would be great to hear more trans people talk about that. And it's a thing that comes up all the time. Like I speak to people who say to me like, oh, well, do you like wearing dresses? And I'm like, not particularly. They seem like a pain in the ass. That, some of them are fine, but, I'm not really that bothered. And like, I grew up around women who are like that. So those are the kind of women that I sort of always knew that I would eventually be.
Yeah.
But, it's not, it's just not how it works. It's not that simple.
Well, that's actually really, really great about bringing this up now, because I feel that this doesn't get talked about.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah. Well, that's, the ultimate point, and that's why I don't try and speak with any authority, because obviously I'm not trans myself. But the basic underlying point of most of life is it's more fucking complicated than that.
Yeah,
like,
there's more to it than that.
There's 7 billion people, or well, 7.5 billion people on the planet. You can't define any large grouping of them with like a catch-all one sentence. It doesn't fucking work.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I'd like to add as well that the last, because I kind of went through most of my life avoiding gender entirely. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. And I was just kind of wandering around thinking about like, no, I definitely want to be a girl, but I don't want to act like a girl. And that was the last little hump in the road for me, was that little thought of like, but I don't want to act like a girl. And then the thought would just stop. So I'd just be like, okay, well, I've shelved that one again. And then I would keep coming back to it, and I'd hit that same wall every time of that totally meaningless thought. And then one day I just got really frustrated with myself, and I was like, what does that mean? What does that actually mean? What does it mean? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. So like in that one moment, I was just like, no, I'm a girl, because I am. That's just how it works.
That sounds very familiar to me as well. I don't know why, but we seem to.
We had a very similar journey, I think, just by chance.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember the moment it happened. I was in my bedroom at one of my student houses, and I remember walking into my bedroom and thinking, oh, but I don't want to act like a woman. And I had the thought again, and I was like, okay, what is this? What does that mean? And I was like, God, that's so misogynistic. What does a woman act like? However she fucking wants, and however you want, bitch. You're a woman now. It's game over. We figured this out. Yeah, and it was like a really glorious moment. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, all right, I give up. This is it. Like that. Yeah, all right, I'll stop pretending now that this is more complicated than anything I could imagine. It's really this simple.
Yeah, that's actually it was the video I think you voiced, Fox, about define woman. The idea that what is a woman? Whatever she wants to be. That's fine. And I quite like the ancient Greek reference to the featherless chicken.
But what is a man?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was really hoping there would be a Castlevania one in there.
Yeah, me too.
I can't remember if there was one.
Oh, that's a missed opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, so go and
I
watch.
love the what is a man but a miserable little pile of secrets. I think that's a banger. That's a good line.
That is a good line. That is true.
It's a good line.
So ex-trans types will never call themselves that because there's a difference between I thought I was gay but I realized I'm just not actually and ex-gay. Ex-gays were people who, because of self-loathing and internalized homophobia, would loudly renounce their homosexual ways, declared they were healed, and then go on to talk about how the gay agenda is a nefarious influence trying to lure people, particularly children and teenagers, away from healthy heterosexual relationships where they would experience life's one true calling, making babies. Sound familiar? Because it's basically the whole we must save children from being taken in by this trans craze or they'll hormone away their baby making potential. Signs. Lizard in their Twitter handle. #genderfree. Says shit like...
Yeah, what's the lizard thing about? Do we know?
I was about to say that. I have no idea.
You'll have to ask CritFacts about that.
Well, you're in the
I know.
you're in the chat, CritFacts, and I presume I mean, your alien brain is taking in so much information. But can you get to the
more than we could possibly ever fathom?
What the lizard thing was, and we'll.
Yeah. What's the deal with the lizard thing?
There's also there's a lizard, and there's also there's like a few things that are like little signs like that. There's also the red thing, the red square.
Red square. Oh,
the spider web. That's also something I see by a lot of.
What is it like the fucking Masonic Lodge? What are they doing? What are these weird ass symbols? There's a hare with the head of an alligator.
Definitely not cult. Definitely not cult.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
They call trans people a cult. And shit like that, you know.
They call trans people a cult, and we don't even know how each of us went through figuring out that we were trans. Like, it's a thing that we don't even talk about enough, and they think that we're all in it together as one big scheme. Okay, and then we talk to each other about pre-trans life, and we're all like, "Oh my god, you had that too?"
CritFacts get back to us in English, which is good. Whatever their native alien tongue would be, I don't know. I don't know the origin of the lizard thing, but I think it's because the lizards in real life regrow their tails or some other appendages.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Okay, so we still don't know is the short answer.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. Who knows?
But they don't regrow their penis. Like what?
No, and
Well, how do you know? Have you done experiments on them?
It's axolotls that grow back their shit, isn't it? And are they lizards?
I don't care. I don't care.
They're pretty sick though. I do want one.
Oh.
Yeah, my boyfriend is reading.
They're the ones that look like weird Pokemon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look a bit like a Magikarp.
Oh.
Not a Magikarp. What is it?
I don't know. I don't engage in that.
God damn it! Sorry, that's Gen 2. I don't know Gen 2 very well.
Consumers.
Well, I don't engage in that kind of degeneracy. So.
Furries. No.
Yeah, furry I can
Pokemon
handle, but Pokemon's beyond the pale.
No.
I should have been challenged more, and basically blaming doctors for having the audacity to believe trans people instead of treating them as unreliable narrators, crusade against Tavistock and GIDS, usually also TERFs. Things blockers
Someone saying
gateway drug
Mudkip.
Mudkip? Oh, that might be it.
Mudkip. That was it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Max Rowland, who is
you're correct.
Also a degenerate. That's official.
You've just outed yourself, but thank you.
Exactly.
My brain kept giving me mud slap, but that's a move that Mudkip can do.
Mud slap.
Mud slap is definitely some fucking Urban Dictionary thing. There's no way that isn't a thing. It's probably disgusting.
If you can combine two words, it's an Urban Dictionary thing. They've gone off the rails at this point.
Yeah, true.
Turn people trans.
That's what I want to call my softcore porn movie.
Mud slap. Yeah, true.
I'd watch that. That sounds funny.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Most ex-trans types will weaponize their regret, but offer solutions that don't actually do anything to help anyone. The, quote, solutions, end quote, they offer usually wouldn't even do anything about their own cases. Consider Keira Bell, who who managed to convince judges to prevent doctors from prescribing blockers, exogenous hormones, or referring for surgery until the age of 18 at minimum, save for with a court order that would be absurdly difficult to obtain. Except Keira herself didn't start exogenous hormones until 18 and got top surgery at age 20. She was prescribed blockers at 16 after most of the effects of puberty were already in place in her case. The only thing that would be different in her case with the laws she argued for is she would have 2 fewer years from 16 to 18 on blockers. And yet, she is lauded as proof that children can make permanent decisions and heralded as a hero by TERFs, who don't actually care about children suffering from dysphoria, but want to weaponize this case to argue that intervening against dysphoria is bad, that being trans is a social contagion, and that trans people don't deserve bodily autonomy. And to make things worse, they don't even realize they're being useful idiots to groups that want to take away abortion rights. Keira's lawyer, Paul Conrath, is part of the ADF, short for Alliance Defending Freedom, which, when you open its page, begs you for donations to defend our religious freedom. An argument tactic almost always used by the religious right in order to claim that it's their religious right to dictate how other people live their lives. Not making this shit up, they fight against hate speech laws being passed, have an official standpoint of being against legalized abortion, claim that Planned Parenthood is deceiving us all, and they come to the legal defense of anti-abortion activists. Hey.
So well done, supposed feminists there.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just a lot of that entire branch of feminism. I was gonna bring this up earlier, but the thing that kind of kickstarted that entire movement, the modern TERF movement. That was kind of what's her name again? Janice Raymond, I think her name was.
I don't know.
But basically she was like an ex-Catholic.
Okay.
And she wrote a book in like the late 70s called The Transsexual Empire, and it was basically it was basically one big slanderous book, and she basically went after a trans woman called Sandy Stone, I believe her name was, and she worked at like a women's radio station, or what was it, lesbian radio station? I forgot. But that was like an entire TERF manifesto basically, and like the modern TERF movement still like takes a lot of influence from that book. And basically, if you look at her views of Raymond's views, they are all still, even though she by that time she wrote the book, she was like ex-Catholic. Her views are still very Catholic in nature, you know. The body is sacred, you know. There's the same sort of views, albeit not like inspired by like a god, deity, or you know. Yeah. A lot of the same principles can still be found in her worldviews, and I think that's also why I often just call TERFism just kind of like a branch of Catholicism almost, because that's basically what it is. Just without all the religious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of religiosity in there as well, isn't there? Because you get a lot of evangelicals and Muslims and any number of people. And again, not to smear any of those larger groups of people, it's the transphobes that are the problem. But it can definitely arise out of fundamentalist thinking.
Well, I think a lot of people come from environments where they were told that things are a certain way because they are, and that's the way that they work. I think they feel very attacked by people that prove it's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've brought this up before, where so if you were, I've spoken to my mum about this because she doesn't get how someone could be a TERF. She finds it kind of hard to understand. And I said to her, well, if you imagine that you spent your life as a woman doing things that you didn't really want to do and being told not to do the things that you really wanted to do because you're a woman, you would internalize that as being part of being a woman. So when you see people not having to do those things that you were forced and abused into doing, the reaction might be to freak out and be like, wow, that's not right. That's not how the world works. Because it is how the world works for them. Because that's what they were shown. They were treated like shit for being women. And now there are people around going, actually, no, we never needed to do that. That's not actually how the world has to work. We just abused you because we could.
Basically, it's like saying, like, I've been abused and you haven't. You're not a woman, you know. Even though, by their standards, anyone who was like born infertile or whatever
is not a woman.
Yeah, is also not a woman, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I know
you have to fulfill certain criteria to make sure that you can be abused correctly. Otherwise, you're not a woman.
That's super toxic in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was from the perspective of, say, patriarchal power structures, the way that they are able to buy into that and promote a lot of transphobic nonsense is because, in the same way that they say, but the Pope dealt with Galileo, is that the reason they hold on to their power gets destroyed if truths come out.
Yeah.
So you have to keep it suppressed. A woman is a woman, a man is a man. That's it. Now go to work.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, women don't do this, men don't do that. Be quiet, do what we tell you to do.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much it.
It's also funny how that is exactly the easiest way to get actual patriarchal, you know, think tanks on their side, you know.
Exactly.
Like if you tell a man that this trans woman is trying to, you know, get their women, you know, and they're gonna trans all their kids, you know, like, then you're establishing that same kind of idea that makes all these incels and like Nazis just say that they have to protect womanhood, you know, like the white women and all that kind of nonsense. It harkens back to that same idea, I feel like.
Yeah.
Hey buddies, nobody should be forced to remain pregnant if they don't want to be pregnant. End of story. Oh, and they also frame marriage as only good if it's one man and one woman, and imply that same-sex marriage is selfish. Look at this shit. I had to see it, now so do you. Jesus. Review. So, what I originally intended to be a very simple overview video turned into a more detailed video essay because once I get started, it's very hard for me to stop. Attacking transphobia is like Pringles to me. One thing I would like to mention is that these are very informal categorizations, as in, there isn't a hard line between one group and the other. In fact, many of them will trade members in a sort of bigotry exchange program. Being a TERF can lead someone down the alt-right pipeline. A Quisling or Transmedicalist might reach a critical point of self-hatred, detransition, become ex-trans, and bathe in the praise they'll inevitably get from the people who hope for exactly that, but for every trans person. With most transphobes, the best response is generally to point out the flaws in their logic and disengage if they start dragging you into the weeds. Remember, on the whole, you're generally not trying to convince the person you're arguing with, because they will dig in their heels and go on defense, use evasion tactics, and so on. But when you show how foolish they are, other people who see the exchange might rethink their positions and avoid falling for misinformation. In the video game Phasmophobia, as of writing, you can't actually defuse the ghosts. You can't banish them and you can't exorcise them. The story goes that you're just surveyors and the real heavy lifting has to be done by a different team off screen. And similarly, you have to make peace with the fact that, online, you can't directly purge transphobia from transphobes, or often chuddery from chuds of any sort, but you can spot them, identify them, and warn other people of what they're dealing with, and help them avoid getting pulled into that same rabbit hole. Thank you for watching. As of current, my main Twitter account is experiencing some technical difficulties.
Yeah, that's well, basically, yes. There's a bit of stuff about the Twitter and all the rest, but that's the main chunk of the video. And I thought it was very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We did put a lot of effort into it.
This is one of my favorite ones. I do like this one a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. The J.K. Rowling one was really good too.
I haven't been able to watch that one.
Outrageous. What kind of commitment to the channel
Also,
is that?
Sarah.
I edited it 3 times and it was so stressful. I knew I wouldn't be able to watch it. I was
No,
like, I
that's
can't do this. It's like actually hurtful. Like it's just a string of abuse. It's so difficult to watch.
So it's funny to point out, like here in this screen, like CritFacts' main account actually got suspended for saying for posting a GIF that says "Come at me, bro" in response to that tweet.
Fuck, man. What a joke.
It's another example of Twitter automated moderation going completely haywire.
I got banned for 12 hours for calling Piers Morgan a cunt once.
Oh yeah, I felt like a simple one too.
What? So you can't even state facts on Twitter anymore?
Water wet.
Outrageous.
Well, it's just the only good news is that Sarah Fillmore did get banned like a few weeks ago.
Good.
Is it like a month ago?
Twitter giveth and Twitter taketh away.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just like J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, Lord J.K.
Lord.
Yes, I'm sure she'll be given sainthood status in no time.
No.
Oh God, she's trash. Anyway, yes. So, yes, a very good video. For everyone, again, go and subscribe. It's not a request; it's a demand. Yeah. So, what's the future for the channel? What's how are you going on progression wise?
Working on a podcast at the moment.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically, if you've enjoyed this this episode, then you'll love that podcast because it's basically just me. Well, the two episodes so far are just
the 2
me
episodes we have recorded are me and Rachel.
Yeah, me and Bfax just rambling for 2 hours straight about random topics. But I do think it's really fun, and it's also part of what I mentioned earlier about like humanizing us. Humanizing trans people and queer people for that matter. Just
because it can seem like all we do is like bitch on Twitter about how shit everything is, which is true. But we also have other things that we do.
Yeah, like we are humans. That's so important. Like it is really important to just kind of, and I feel this sounds kind of gimmicky, but like it is important for me to speak the language of the people. Like I play games too. On
So
Twitch.
you don't just want to speak 5 different languages. You want to speak the language of the people as well. Jesus.
That's language number 6.
Yeah.
Hello, fellow kids. How does that mean go?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you do, fellow kids?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yes. So I go and check that out whenever they're released.
Yeah. And I think we're also gonna get like because of the nature of our channel, we're also gonna get like more people to voice over different clips. So it's always an interesting approach, I think, to have different people voice the episodes, and of course, everybody also kind of has like their own little inputs here and there, to the little inputs in the script. So that in that sense, that makes CritFacts a little bit more unique compared to I don't know, Contra or whatever, which I think is just
Yeah, and well, eventually you'll be bigger than Contra anyway. So
yes.
Hopefully, we believe non-binary people are real and important.
Yeah, actually, and we believe that what's his face is bad.
Buck.
Yeah.
Buck Angel. Yeah.
Buck Angel.
Yeah, he's a dickhead. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so everyone go and check out the channel below. Also, if someone reminds me, I'll put the Twitter and everything below as well. And go and support a fantastic new channel. Yeah,
I hope you'll enjoy it, and suggestions are always welcome. And like I said, like if somebody feels like, hey, I'd love to listen to an episode, just have a go. We can't make any promises, but we can always
you'll have to conform to my guidelines on vocal recording, and you will have to bend the knee to me. But other than that, anyone can.
And it has to be done in MP3. Has to
It
be.
must be a WAP, or I will kill you.
Feel the wrath of Bleep Fox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And share with your friends.
yes, indeed. Yeah. Any final thoughts before I terminate tonight's proceedings?
Do you want to do some shameless self-promotion? We can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like well, I've
Yeah,
been
go on.
streaming this whole time on my personal Twitch page, which is Rachel Plays Stuff, just one word. Yeah, and my personal Twitter is the Wolf Spirit 1.
Yes.
Yeah. I also stream. It's twitch.tv/bleepfox, and my Twitter is also bleepfox because branding.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I stream fairly regularly, all kinds of stuff, and it would be great to have people along asking questions and stuff like that. Feel free.
It would be good to not stare into the void.
Yes, it would be great.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, yeah. Go and check out all of those links, and thank you both for coming on. This was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
And thanks a lot for having
thanks
us.
for having us.
That really means a lot to
Yeah, it does.
me.
Awesome. Well,
And also I'm a big fan. Well, big fan. I've always been a fan of your content, your MRA series. Oh, thanks. We're getting follows. Also, Christy Winters. I always follow her stuff as well. So she happens to be
okay.
watching. Love your stuff.
well,
yeah.
well, thank you. Yeah. I like my stuff too. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. No, yeah. Keep being beautiful people, and I will possibly speak to you another time.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully.
Always,
It'd be great.
Feel free to hit us up.
Cool. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, you
have
too.
a wonderful day.
Thanks everyone for watching as well.
Bye bye.
Thank everyone.
Well, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. How are we all, everyone, by the way? I'm just going to do a quick bit of shilling with you all, and then I'll let you be about your business. Yes, go and check out, of course. Go and check out the CritFacts channel. Okay, got to be done. Again, I'm not asking nicely. I'm saying go and do it now. It is a must. Also, go and check out those other accounts. Again, if someone reminds me, I'll link them below as well. Go and check those out. Whatever's linked below. You can also subscribe to me on this channel. Like it, give it a share around. Give it a comment. All of that stuff. And follow me on the social medias, of course. Just got a couple of thingamajigs through. I think someone subscribed or something. I was trying to remember anything to say with my face, and I couldn't. Another rover has landed on Mars. The Perseverance thing. Oh, did it land? Was it safe? I haven't been able to check it out. I've been doing this, so I haven't, And I'm not like a big space person, but I understand it's enormously important and impressive. Far beyond. I imagine it like maybe a god or something. It's too big. I can't fucking understand it. Anyway, yes, thank you to. I mentioned Bleep Fox. Rachel Play Stuff followed before that as well. Thank you to Lunos Nocturne, possibly, for following. Thank you to Flamdar, resubscribed. 6 months. We're 2/3 of the way to a stream, baby, Flamdar. Start thinking of names. Plus 1 month, yes. And thank you to Lunos Nocturne again, who subscribed. Hello, welcome aboard. You followed and then you subbed straight away. You are a beautiful person, thank you. You can also go and do that if you wish to over on the Twitches. You can. It'll cost you money unless you've got a Twitch Prime, and then you can redistribute five whole dollars from Jeff Bezos to me. If you've got a Twitch. An Amazon Prime account, you can link that to your Twitch account for free, and you get 1 free subscription every month, which you can use on me. You can probably use it on a better channel, but you could also use it on mine if you wanted to. And yes, it did land safely. Awesome. It's got pictures from Mars. Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to go and check those out later. Yeah. Oh, that's badass. Humans are amazing in many respects. There's some incredible achievements. There's which one of the I can't even remember what the fucking craft was called that's now left the solar system. We've now got a human-made product that's out of the solar system. It's in interstellar space. It's fucking mind-blowing. Humans are amazing in many respects. We've talked about the worst of humanity with like the TERFs and Nazis and shit, but let's give some big ups to let's give some fucking big ups to some good people who do like astronaut spacey shit. Madness. Voyager 2, thank you very much. See, people know shit. My audience know shit, man. It's badass. Anyway, yeah, it's literally there's a thing that humans made that isn't in our solar system anymore, which is fucking incredible. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, I'm just rambling there. Yes, thank you to everybody, and yeah, go and, like I say, go and follow the links, go and subscribe to CritFacts and all that shit. I will be back tomorrow. Usual time, 7 p.m. UK time, which is 2 p.m. in the East Coast of Americana land. It's 8 p.m. On in Central European time. It is, of course, 7 a.m. in the great nation of Fiji. I haven't done that for a while, but that joke's gonna come back. Fuck it. Yeah, and I'll be on, I think, with Christy, if she's available. Again, it's totally up to her, but if she's around, she'll be on. And we'll be taking a look at stuff. I don't even know. Probably the Ted Cruz thing will pop up, I'm sure. Thank you to HeyBunny86, who just subscribed. You're a beautiful person too. Subscribe with a Prime. Yes, we've redistributed Jeff Bezos' wealth. Just another 100 squillion left, and we'll have him penniless. Be a beautiful thing. Anyway, thank you to one and all. I'll be back tomorrow. And, yeah. Take care of yourselves. You're all fucking valid as shiz. Know that.